Also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports 2 balloonists took flight from Japan on Saturday in a bid to break world records for distance and duration for gas balloon travel in what they hope will be at least a 6-day trans-Pacific flight reaching the U.S. West Coast. The record distance of 5,209 miles for gas balloons was set on the only previously manned trans-Pacific flight in 1981, while the duration record of more than 137 hours aloft was set in 1978 by a team crossing the Atlantic. Ray Baer, an official observer with the National Aeronautic Association based in Mission Control in Albuquerque, New Mexico, said, "It goes to the philosophy of man. You always try to attain new heights and distances. That's what this is all about." The balloon, which relies solely on enclosed chambers of helium gas for lift, is different from hot air balloons and so-called Rogier balloons, which rely on both hot air and lighter-than-air gas. The 2 balloon pilots, collectively dubbed 2 Eagles, successfully took off after bad weather and poor wind trajectories had repeatedly delayed their launch. Baer said if they make it to the U.S. West Coast, just south of Oregon, they will have broken the distance record, adding they could also attempt to fly further as the craft is believed capable of staying aloft for 10 days. Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com. That's coinbase.fppradio.com. UPI reports the Washington Metropolitan Police Department wanted to arrest former Meet the Press host David Gregory for showing an illegal high-capacity ammunition magazine during a December 2012 segment about gun control. The arrest affidavit obtained by conservative watchdog group Judicial Watch shows police found probable cause to arrest Gregory following an interview with the NRA's Wayne LaPierre about banning high-capacity magazines in the United States. However, Gregory was never arrested or charged with a crime. In the affidavit, police detective Wayne Garish said an NBC News editor emailed the police department to inquire about the legality of using a gun magazine with no bullets or weapon during the segment. Authorities told NBC in 2 separate emails that possessing a high-capacity magazine is a misdemeanor. One of the emails recommended using a photo. During the segment, which aired on December 23, 2012, Gregory showed 2 gun magazines, one that can hold up to 30 bullets and another that can hold up to 10. In 2013, the Attorney General for Washington, D.C. decided not to bring charges against Gregory. He was later fired from the show and replaced with Chuck Todd. The Legal Insurrection blog filed a Freedom of Information Act request for the affidavit. Judicial Watch filed lawsuit on behalf of the Legal Insurrection in May 2013 to get a copy of the affidavit. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
Shortly after having sexual intercourse with a prostitute earlier this afternoon, local man Jacob Reynolds told reporters that he never expected the experience would bring him to new heights of emotional and spiritual fulfillment.
I was convinced that having sex with a complete stranger behind my wife's back would leave me feeling drained and empty on the inside, but my self-esteem is through the roof.
Reynolds, who said he paid $150 for a 30-minute block of time, said that his moderate expectations for the encounter were instantly surpassed by what turned out to be a deeply personal sexual communion that transported him to a new plane of emotional intimacy.
I've never felt a stronger sense of spiritual connection. When our bodies met, there was an immediate sense of familiarity and comfort that just washed over me. I think it was the most meaningful experience of my life.
This is the Onion News Network.
This is Free Talk Live. You are welcome to call in toll free and take control of the airwaves and bring up anything that happens to be on your mind. 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE. We've got Skype as well. Skype username is lrn.fm, so feel free to reach out to us that way if you've got that as an option. We prefer Skype calls. They do tend to sound a lot better than the telephone. So with you in studio tonight here in beautiful Keene, New Hampshire, which will be a winter wonderland apparently in another 24, 48 hours.
Yeah, it's going to get nasty, I hear.
So it's Ian here with you.
Ademo.
And Mark.
And it's Ademo Freeman from Copblock.org joining us, by the way, here on this live Sunday edition.
Now,
Free
you're
Talk
one of the
Live.
founders of Copblock.org, right?
I am the founder of Copblock. Yeah, Pete and I started in 2 weeks. He was coming on board with that fancy schmancy New Mexico video there, one of my favorites.
So does he get to be called a founder too? Or?
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, okay.
I mean, and there's many contributors there that, from George Sand and others who were there within the first couple months. It's a big, happy, decentralized family.
So coming up, Mark's got a story about power corrupting and looking at it from kind of, I guess, a scientific perspective. Showing evidence, right, that power corrupts.
The article doesn't show the evidence. The article points to the sort of a study that is much longer than the article.
Fair enough. Citing evidence in a study about power corrupting. I want to get into that, but there's some breaking news, I guess, or relatively breaking news at Demo from this weekend. Some cop blockers down in Arlington, Texas, have been arrested, and the story's over at copblock.org.
Yeah, that's right. It's on the main page in articles, and some familiar names here. If folks recall that are familiar with Copblock, that recently got a little bit on the Bill O'Reilly show, and it did focus on
this Arlington group was focused on the Bill O'Reilly show.
Yes, and even two of these, I believe one for sure, maybe the other. I'm not 100% positive what was for sure because I remember Bill O'Reilly calling him Paul Bunyan because he has a really large beard, right. Joseph Ty. But
because if you don't actually have anything intelligent to say, you attack the man.
That's right. Yeah, you can't. They can't smash what they were doing. They couldn't discredit their actions. They had to make fun of the man's beard, which is impressive in my opinion. It's a really nice beard. But so the story, I talked with Corey Watkins this morning, who posted a video to YouTube, which caught my attention via social networks. And him and Joseph Ty and Kenny Lovett were out doing an event all day long, cop blocking. They had stops and video type encounters with police officers planned. They held some signs. They did some open carrying. They decided to carry black powder muzzleloader pistols that are really old.
Which is legal, right, in Texas?
And in Texas,
open carry is generally not legal, but if you have an old gun...
Yeah, I found that out today, too. I thought Texas was real big, friendly with the open carry, but that isn't exactly the case. Yeah.
No, there's no open carry in Texas of a firearm, but a muzzleloader is not a firearm.
Right.
So, as defined by the...
Which is why you, as a felon... could carry one of these, correct?
In any state but New Hampshire.
Oh, New Hampshire prohibits that.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you were allowed to.
New Hampshire prohibits me from possessing a pistol, which is opposed to a firearm. And so that...
I thought you told me that at one time that there was some sort of old gun that you could carry in New Hampshire.
I thought we could have muzzleloaders still.
That's not the case?
I don't believe... I thought
I heard that from you, Mark.
I think I could probably get away with it. I just don't think that... no, I don't think so. I don't think I can carry it.
So these guys are really active.
I certainly can in Vermont, and it can and have in Vermont. There was I went to the Bennington Battle Days, and they had a blunderbuss there, which is a pretty awesome thing. I got a picture of me holding one of those.
I know in Wisconsin, where my felonies originate from, I could still muzzleload, hunt, and archery, bow and arrow. So sometimes they're a little different here and from there, but... These guys down in Texas and Arlington, they're pretty active, and so they
sounds
regularly...
like 12 hours of cop blocking? That's awesome.
They normally go out either weekly or every other week, according to Corey, and this day, though, they had planned such a long, extensive event with multiple angles to it because they had a LA Times reporter with them that wanted to cover the story. And I believe that's very interesting because, according to Corey, all day long... their event was going just fine, and
12 hours, right?
Well, yeah, approximately, with people coming in and out. And it was shortly after, within an hour of this LA Times reporter taking off, the very next stop, the very next time they turned their cameras on, these two officers, Kemp and Deary, D-E-A-R-Y, show up at a stop as a backup, but they really don't even, if you see in the video posted at copblock.org, they don't even really go up to the first officers that are with the other driver, and they actually took him out of the car and stuff. So you would think that they might be providing some assistance or there's going to search. They immediately crossed the street And
they made a beeline for the cop blockers.
Essentially, yeah. They waited for a little bit of traffic and came right over to the cop blockers, who are
sounds like they were communicating over their, over their radios, saying, "Hey, the cop blockers are here. Come get them."
Right, and that is what Corey thought, because he had mentioned earlier in the day hearing one of the officers on the radio say, "Oh, switch to this other frequency. You know, it's something about their ears." And so these officers come over and they immediately start pressing Corey, who's got the camera, to disarm, to put their firearms away and leave the scene. And
so they're carrying these black powder pistols and videotaping the police, right?
That is right.
Okay.
I'm not. I assume, I can't see if Corey is, but I believe he is carrying open carrying. But I'm not exactly sure if the officer is talking to someone next to him. But later in the video, you see that when Kenny is arrested, the officers were clearly asking him to disarm.
Okay.
So the officers ask him to disarm, and he starts saying that these are black powdered pistols. They don't fall under the same laws that you guys are used to. And he's like mentioning that they don't even have the caps, which I'm assuming is some part of the firing mechanisms to these muzzle loaders. And the officers at first seem to back down from this, and they start to walk away until like another uniform officer comes by, and they see another individual with a similar type pistol, I assume by their actions. And this is then you can see these things. They're really long guns. Like they hang from like your hip to like past your knee. And so they kind of look silly already. Like, I don't know why these officers are so concerned about them. That like, I wouldn't think this is going to be like a...
Oh, they're manufacturing the concern, obviously.
Well, yes, of course. And so...
I think that there are a lot of police officers that are just upset when you have a gun. Like, it just upsets them. What are you doing walking around with a gun?
Sure, but is this
only
the first
I
time,
should have a gun?
But is this the first time Arlington Cop Blockers have done an open carry event? I doubt it.
I don't believe so. No, they do this regularly. But so the officers start asking him the same questions, and then when they were talking to Corey, they said, you know, you only get one chance. And then he cited a law and said some things, and they kind of like, they were like, it looked like they were going to go like talk over there for a minute, but then they got they seen the other individual, who I assume is Kenny because he was arrested. And so they go and say the same things to Kenny and give him the same ultimatum. And then another officer arrives, and he's like, well, that's it. And so you know, then the other two acted, and he didn't have a camera though either, which I thought might have helped Corey because he wasn't arrested. So he had a camera and the gun, maybe the sword and the shield type thing that helped out. But then as Kenny was being arrested, Joseph Ty, a.k.a. Paul Bunyan, I guess, was, you know, walking alongside the escort of Kenny to the car.
Right.
And another
recording
officer,
it.
Yep, recording it. You know, something I would advocate for like my cop blocking experience.
Of course.
The manner in which he was doing it. He wasn't up in their face like you and I have been sometimes. He was actually at a, you know, what I would consider, a safe distance, and not even like bickering or you know, hollering at the officers like, you know, I've done in the past.
Sure.
But another officer still didn't like it, asked him to stop and move away, and he kind of like, you know, diverted his original line of, you know, direction like to a larger angle, you know, wider, but that didn't please the officer, so he was arrested.
Oh, wow.
And
arrested for disorderly conduct. Do we have the charges?
Yes, the charges were, let me just get them right here. They each had interfering with a public official, I believe. Yep. And so
interfering with a public official, even though you pointed out that they made a beeline for them, that when these officers arrived on the scene, they did not even go to wherever it was what the scene was, the pullover that you guys
That's right.
that they were
so
at.
They were both
went
charged with
the cop blockers.
Yep. They were both charged with interfering with a public official, ludicrous.
Yep.
And Kenny was also charged with the catch-all of disorderly conduct, but they wrote on the ticket displaying a firearm. And so I guess it is disorderly to display the firearm.
I take it they are not going to take a plea and go to court?
They do have a lawyer, and so that would be the assumption. They're obviously home and weighing their options, and so we'll keep people up to date at copblock.org, and they're going to stay in contact with me.
Good to know. More coming up here on Free Talk Live, 855 450 free. We'll look into how it is that power corrupts, coming up on Free Talk Live.
Here's a special message for those of you who owe the IRS at least $10,000 or more in back taxes. The IRS has special programs in place that could eliminate or reduce your tax debt by thousands of dollars. Call the tax helpline that has been set up to help you. 800-691-6129. That's 800-691-6129. Stop the wage garnishments, levies, and tax liens now. Once you've qualified and enrolled, the IRS will stop all the collection activities against you. These unique programs have been allocated to help the economy and significantly reduce or eliminate your tax burden. The IRS is currently accepting reduced settlements and other favorable programs. You may qualify for substantial savings, so get the help you need. For free information and to see if you qualify, take down the number now for the Tax Representation Hotline. 800-691-6129. That's 800-691-6129. 800-691-6129.
Adam Miller here with Midas Resources. Today, January 19th, 2015, gold opened at $1276.40. A 1-ounce gold coin can be purchased for $1322.93, $661.47 for a half ounce, or $330.73 for a quarter ounce. That's $1258.35, $661.47, and $330.73.
Hi, this is Ted Anderson. Have you ever wondered why banks, stockbrokers, investment advisors won't talk about gold IRAs? Wait a sec. Gold and silver is going up while Congress is trying to settle on the next debt increase. And there's no end to this madness. That old 401k and IRA can be converted into physical gold without tax consequences. I explained this in my book, 10 Reasons to Buy Gold. Don't let time slip away. Call for your free copy today, 800-686-2237. Get away from that Washington spin and get honest answers about gold. 800-686-2237. The book is free, 800-686-2237.
If you are successful at what you do, whether you're a doctor, a lawyer, a business owner, or you have a great career, you understand the concept of protecting yourself. Well, are you protecting yourself, your family, and your assets with quality term life insurance? Consider these possible rates. A man age 45 non-tobacco user could obtain $1 million of coverage for as little as $75 a month, and this rate is fixed for the next 10 years. We specialize in policies of $500,000 and above. A man age 50 non-tobacco user may be able to obtain $500,000 of coverage for as little as $115 a month. And this rate is fixed for the next 20 years. We have great rates for smokers too. Call the Term Lifeline now. 800-872-0403, 800-872-0403, 800-872-0403.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com.
If you want to move to the free state and you're looking for some real estate, well, I know a guy who's really great. It's the realtor Mark Warden. Do you want a home with 20 acres, a lakeside cabin, any takers for renters, buyers, and sellers too? Mark Warden is the guy for you. PorcupineRealEstate.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. It's the live Sunday edition. Coming up, we'll talk about power corrupting. Mark's got that story. Your calls and thoughts are certainly welcome about anything you'd like to discuss. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype as well. Our Skype username is lrn.fm. Ian and Mark in the studio. Damo here as well, talking about the folks over in Arlington, Texas, cop block, who two of the cop blockers there were arrested. Was it Saturday night or Friday night? When were they?
Last night.
So Saturday night.
Saturday night or Saturday evening, It looks like late afternoon in the video.
After what was a very long day of basically doing a showcase of Cop Block for an LA Times reporter who had come into town, because the Arlington, Texas Cop Block folks have kind of gotten a reputation due to having appeared on Bill O'Reilly at some point in the last year, I would say. So for whatever reason, the media will pick them to go and focus on what they're up to. And so that's great, and that's why the LA Times was there. But I don't know if this detail got out during our first segment. Apparently, the police didn't make the arrests until the LA Times reporter left.
Yeah, I might have
Coincidence?
I don't know, right? It's I've had experience of that before when we did the Chalking 8 in Manchester. When
8 people were arrested.
When 8 of us were arrested for using children's chalk on the police station.
Right.
It wasn't the union leader. It was WMUR had showed up. They had their camera out. They parked their van illegally right on the side of the road. Did their thing for about 20, 30 minutes. And as soon as they left, the cuffs came out. The cops started stuffing people, and that's how it happened. So it's definitely a tactic that must be taught to them. I've seen it before.
Well, let's talk more about what happened in Arlington here in a moment. Our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Also, if you care about privacy, you need to look into ProXPN. It's a global virtual private network, and they encrypt your online data, meaning your internet service provider, who right now probably is saving all of your surfing history, the websites you visited, the search terms that you've entered. They're probably logging all that, in some cases logging them for as many as 5 years. You can put a stop to that by downloading free software from ProXPN. You go to proxpn.com/FTL. The software is available for Windows, Macintosh, iOS devices, and Android devices. Linux users, setup's a little different for you, but you can also get ProXPN working. Go to proxpn.com/FTL. And when you're ready to upgrade to their premium account to get unlimited bandwidth, servers around the world that you can access, the ability to privately torrent, and get past regionally blocked websites, you can go to proxpn.com/FTL and use code FTL50, as FTL like Free Talk Live, and then 50 as in 50% off, and it gets you 50% off the annual account price, which brings the price down to about $5 a month. It's a heck of a deal, and there's a risk-free 7-day money-back guarantee, so you have nothing to lose but your privacy. Go to proxpn.com/FTL. Grab the software right away, get it installed, and give it a try, and then when you're ready to upgrade, use promo code FTL50 for a great discount on privacy that is priceless. Now, Arlington, Texas, when I first heard about that Cop Block group, because there's Cop Block groups all over the place.
Yeah.
I don't know. Do you happen to have a finger on how many of them that
Over
are
120 the last time I checked.
Those are like somehow officially registered.
They have
with
either a
Cop Block.
Facebook,
they've popped up to say, here we are.
Right. They have some sort of flagship, some sort of YouTube channel, Facebook page, website, in fact.
And that's 120 worldwide?
Yep, that's my understanding. Copblock.org/groups gives you a list of all the known Cop Block area affiliates or chapters, whatever term you want to put with them. They're centralized. So
Arlington is one of the more prominent ones because of the news coverage that they've received, and they seem to have a good group there as well. I don't know the size of it, but I get the impression there were at least a handful of folks out when this arrest happened, and the people that were out during the arrests were different than some of the people that were out earlier, because this was a 12-hour-long cop blocking session.
I think some of this went on after. They still continued to cop block. They got these guys out rather quickly. They said on a lawyer's bond, and so they did go after. So I don't know if this is in the middle of their cop blocking. But yeah, from the video, it sounds like there's 8 to 12 people. You get a visual on the 2 that get arrested, Corey. So about 5 or 6 you actually have a visual on. Because there's like a car pulling up in a parking lot, too, that some folks are getting out of. So maybe they were just showing up or they were just coming to the location. I'm not sure.
I have to say, when I saw these guys previously in some of the interactions that they had with the cops there in Arlington, I kind of got the feeling like at some point these cops are going to make a move, that they're going to, make some arrests. And apparently this wasn't even the first time these guys, or at least one of them,
for one of them, yeah, I know. And that's how they got picked up last time is they got
cop blocking.
For cop blocking, yeah, they got picked up, and then the news the local news station in their area did a story on them, and that's how like Bill O'Reilly got a wave of it because they did their little spin on it and kind of poke fun at it. But
so what they were doing was they were open carrying black powder pistols, which would be completely legal in the state of Texas. And they were videotaping arrests, the police doing their work. And from what we can tell, they're like across the street. They're not close enough to sort of be hindering the police. Everything that they're doing is sort of
should be legal.
Yeah, legal and within their rights.
But that doesn't stop the police from
Is there
making
any
an
way
arrest.
that they can get him on like menacing or something like that?
Well, I think the charges they charged him with, from my experience, is catch-all charges. Disorderly conduct, even though it's tagged with displaying a firearm. Like, well, displaying, they might say, well, yes, you can open carry that one. That is legal. But we got a call, and you were just making people nervous, and displaying it was disorderly, and boom, ticket sticks, and yippity-doo-dah.
The ticket's an arrest, and I mean, I don't see how that could possibly stick if that's the circumstance. But
the interfering with arrest would be the questionable one, and so I think. Do
you know if the level of charges they've received will allow for a jury trial?
I'm not sure. I would guess not, because I do know that they're B misdemeanors, and they're only $750 fines, which is different.
So probably only a bench trial in front of a judge.
At least to start, right? You'd think round one would be that way, because that's what it's like here, and so it's definitely going to be in my opinion, a multiple round process for these guys if they want to actually get any sense of justice. The first round with just a judge, commonly just even if the judge is thinking you might be right, he'll probably just side with the state because you get an appeal. And
that's true. It tends to be the case.
And then you go to jury. So
do you feel like these guys, I mean, just from the description, I haven't seen the video yet, but from your description, it sounds like they didn't really do anything wrong. I mean, as far as like, there's some pretty key mistakes you can make when you're cop blocking. And
sure, I guess there are actions you could do that would make some folks say you deserve that, or what did you expect? So like they weren't like calling the cops pigs, or saying don't arrest that peaceful person, or like you and I have sometimes done during cop blocking, ran up to the car and gave them a flyer while they're doing stuff. Like,
how about the one where I got in the car?
That was so funny too. You get in the car, and so these are things that, like, if we did get tickets at those times for like interfering with a traffic stop, most people would be like, "Yeah, you were," blah blah blah.
Like, well, really, most people, I mean, we've read the studies. Most people don't like protesters or activists. They just don't like them. It's like,
don't rock the boat.
I mean,
our status quo.
They don't really even know. They have nothing, right? Like, that's why they yell things like, get a job. Right? Well, you have no clue whether that person out there has a job or not. Why in the world would you let some dumb crap like that fall out of your mouth?
It's just obvious if you're standing outside not doing something like everyone else is doing, you don't have a job.
Right. Well, I mean, you should, I guess the idea is you have too much free time in your hands, but what are you doing with your free time? Drinking beer? I mean, for God's sakes, like, your free time is spent so well. Get a job.
So I want to come back and talk more about, could something have been done differently to prevent the arrests? I would say probably not in this case, but let's talk a little further about it.
Yeah, well, I've had that. Yeah, there's some, maybe, I don't know.
Well, you've seen the video, right? Okay, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. Also, we'll put the video link up to copblock.org via our Facebook, Google+, and Twitter, which you can access through news at news.freetalklive.com.
Do good people ever want to call an attorney just to find out if they're right or wrong? But every time you think about calling an attorney, what are you forced to think about first? Money. If you could call as often as you wanted and talk as long as you need without a bill, would you call? Worry less and live more with lsprotection.com. That's lsprotection.com, or call 855-340-SAVE. That's 855-340-7283.
Results will vary from case to case.
Genesis is defined as an origin, creation, or the beginning. Genesis Communications Network began with the mission of providing you with the kind of compelling content you're listening to now. And at GCNlive.com, you'll find a free archive of our nation's history, narrated by GCN hosts, explored, shared, and passed down to future generations. GCN is the future of talk radio, but we should always strive to learn from our past together. We are GCNlive.com. GCN.
Free Press Publications is an independent, alternative media and publishing company founded in June 2009 with the mission of ensuring a free press for the freedom movement, and is committed to spreading the message of peace, freedom, love, and liberty. FPP also gives new authors an avenue for publishing freedom-oriented material. FPP brings you daily news and commentary on the website, fpp.cc, as well as a daily 5-minute newscast, FPP Radio News, and weekly news, views, and commentary in the FPP Freedom Minute and Peace, Love, Liberty Radio at fppradio.com, and the monthly newspaper, FPP News, at news.fpp.cc. Find FPP online at fpp.cc. That's fpp.cc, as in Creative Commons.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at weusecoins.com. That's weusecoins.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. You can help by joining the AMP program for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com and getting perks. That's amp.freetalklive.com.
You can connect with the Liberty Radio Network via our Facebook page at facebook.lrn.fm. That's facebook.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live, you dial toll-free to bring up what you want right here at 855-450-FREE. The live Sunday edition of the program. We're kind of dissecting a scene to some extent here in Arlington, Texas, where 2 cop blockers have been arrested for the dastardly crime of filming the police. One of them filming the police while carrying an old, I don't know, what do you call this thing? A pistol, a musket pistol or something? This is
Black powder pistol, yeah.
Black powder pistol. It's an old thing. That,
1899 antique black powder pistol.
Yeah.
This was in 1899?
That's
I didn't know they were still making black powder pistols in 1899.
It says
if it's a pre-1899, then it's not considered a firearm. So 1899 is the year upon which firearms pivot.
This is not legal advice from Mark.
This just randomly popped onto my Facebook feed from Counter Current News for the same story, but Texas cop watchers arrested for having legal pre-1899 antique black powder guns. So that's how they're reporting it.
Yeah,
I didn't get that fine
pre-1899
detail in my story.
Most of these black powder pistols are going to be Army, the Colt Army. That you're going to find. I mean, that's what that looked like from what I was going to see. So if you've ever seen the movie Glory with Matthew Broderick, that's what he's displaying as
an officer's pistol.
Yeah, it's an officer's pistol from that war.
Gotcha. So we're just kind of going through the scene, and I did pull up the video. It's over at copblock.org. I linked to it on our Facebook, Google+, and Twitter, which you can access at news.freetalklive.com to go to your favorite Free Talk Live page on whichever social bookmarking site you prefer. But we're talking about, what could they have done differently, if anything? I mean, Ademo, you are certainly a veteran of Copblock. And I guess before we go on with dissecting this to some extent, can you define for a listener what makes Copblock different from Copwatch? I mean, there's certainly the trappings of having a camera between the two of them, but there is a difference, right?
Well, I would say that Copwatch is more of the idea is to observe and monitor and record. I would say that Copblock doesn't even have that defined of a agenda. It's Cop Block is a diverse group of individuals who simply believe badges don't grant extra rights, and so the idea with Cop Block is to provide a forum where people can have a police conversation by doing whatever means, if they want to blog, make a video, go out and cop block, whatever it might be. And so I guess it's a small difference. Cop Block seems to merely observe, and Cop Block, you can really do whatever you feel is best.
Right. I always felt like a good cop block or a good cop blocker lets themselves be known. That's how I would something.
That's how I address my cop blocking. I definitely if there's a raid in my neighborhood, I want to go tell those cops that I don't like this and that I don't appreciate it. And if I get pulled over by a cop, like I did recently, New Hampshire state trooper, I was like, hey, can I just go back to work and paying your salary? Like, some people commented on my Facebook for being rude to him, and well, I think he was rude when
by pulling you over
with a gun.
So I think that there's two different levels of it. Like there's the time where they're after you, and then you use your experience at not participating with the police to block them from gaining knowledge about a situation. So like if there's one instance where I was pulled over and I didn't say anything to the officer, I just handed them the license and registration, and ultimately only really spoke up when she began badgering the passengers for information. I said they're not under any obligation to answer your questions either.
Right. They really don't like it when you do that.
So, and then the other level being that when you come onto a scene that doesn't involve you, you have a camera, you're recording it, and then maybe make a commentary track at the same time, like, hey, I don't appreciate what you guys are doing. Let that girl go, that kind of stuff.
Don't get me wrong. The idea for me, too, is like Cop Block's the name, and so ideally, like, I think if people would address the police actions for how they feel about those actions, if they really took an in-depth look at those actions, then essentially you would be blocking the police from doing such horrendous actions.
I think so. I think if enough people were to give the police feedback of a sort that, hey, we don't appreciate these laws being enforced, like these victimless crime laws, like drug prohibition. If enough people did that, if they heard from people at their church, at their knitting group, at the whatever the heck it is that they do, the fishing,
lots of cops at the knitting
buddies.
group. Okay,
I don't know. There's female cops,
and they knit,
and some men knit as well.
Maybe
I don't know how many men cops, but
it seemed like an odd thing to choose. So
I don't know what people do.
My best critique here is that the term cop block is two-pronged, right? Like it's two-sided. It's great because it sticks in your head. It's got that kind of it has an association with another term, and it just kind of it sticks out there. And you guys have been extraordinarily successful. But I think that sort of the average person, the respectables is what we like to call them on Free Talk Live, the people who I never have problems with the police. I don't know what you're talking about. those folks that when you say cop block, right? Like it just says, well, what are you doing going out there getting in the way of them doing their job anyway? It just kind of has that sound to it.
Well, I agree, but the number one reason why Cop Block was made was because of exactly what you mentioned. It was branding, and I was trying to think of a website that people would remember and that you wouldn't have to like spell out for them, and or it wasn't like 3 letters LF B. It's like whatever. And so Cop Block, like you said, it has a similar association to especially the younger demographic, and it's
if you don't know what the term
forget.
Means, good for you.
Right, you're not marketing to the people in the 65-plus demo. Not to say that they shouldn't know their rights and exercise them either. In fact, I think it can be incredibly powerful when elderly people exercise their rights.
We actually
I wouldn't call anybody 65
off the
and over
website.
elderly.
If you're over 65, you get bounced out. You get sent to like I don't know.
But there's something to be said for the idea that targeting young people with a message like this is important because, well, they're going to be the ones who are in charge, so to speak, in a few years.
Simply branding. I mean, it also has the secondary and third level benefits, of the things you and I just discussed of like, being a difference from other police accountability organizations and maybe having a relation to like the actions that you are partaking in, actual cop blocking. But the primary reason was that it was memorable, that it stuck in your head, and it was,
So let's go back to the scene. Arlington, Texas. It's pretty much daylight. You said toward the end of the afternoon, maybe, when this
it looks like
happened.
sunset-ish.
And there's multiple cops. More continue to come on scene throughout the 7 minutes that the video transpires. And I haven't had the time to actually sit and watch the full video. This was, we literally just started discussing this right before the show started tonight. And from what I saw in the video, these guys are not interfering with anything in any way. I mean, they're just there recording the police, and they get, of course, targeted by the police because the Arlington police know well who these guys are. They've been interviewed by the media about Copblock, so you can better believe there's been a memo that's gone out to every single officer in Arlington, Texas, and there's probably a game. Because we know there was a game in Keene where it has been overheard that bureaucrats have like a point scoring system where if they arrest the free
Are we all like a
staters-
deck of cards or something?
Yeah,
Like,
I think so.
Interesting.
So it wouldn't surprise me if the Arlington police have a little game amongst themselves as to who can arrest the Copblockers first.
Right. I need some points.
Yeah.
But yes, I agree. They definitely weren't doing anything that I wouldn't say was good quality cop blocking. They kept, they weren't interfering like we discussed before the break. They didn't walk up to the car. They weren't even haggling the officers whatsoever.
Yeah, right.
And it even also seemed that the first two officers that approached the scene didn't they were almost backed down by the first person. They kind of took a step back. It looked like to regroup, and then their attention was brought to Kenny, who was arrested. But even then, they walked up to him, and he pulled out his phone, started recording, and saying some things that I don't think is heard from the point of view we have in that video. But this guy comes up who's in all the other guys are in blue-based uniforms, and this officer is in a black-based one, and he's like, that's enough after, we already gave him a warning. Well, that's enough then, and then he gets arrested, and he's also the guy who arrests or enacts the arrest on Joseph, because it seems like one officer asked him to step over here, but that officer didn't seem too edgy to affect an arrest.
So the one cop in black, all black, comes in and just basically
starts going to town, right?
To make it all happen.
Right.
Whereas these other guys, they look more like bike cops, but they're not on bikes.
No, they come from the car.
Yeah.
Right, when they showed up. But maybe they had maybe they're also they park downtown and then they walk.
How big is Arlington, Texas?
I'm
It's
not
not
sure.
small.
I'd have to look.
Not
It's
small at all.
Yeah.
It's probably as big as Manchester.
All right, there's more coming up here in moments. 855, 450 free. You can take control of the airwaves. Maybe
It
you've
ain't
got
Dallas.
Maybe you've got a police interaction story you want to share with us, or maybe you are a cop. 855, 450 free. You can take control here on Free Talk Live. There's more coming up.
Shiny badges on your jacket. Shiny badges.
This is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and I just want to personally apologize for airing a jingle week after week, month after month, that turned out to be such an infectious brainworm. So to make it up to you, I'm offering a free gift. The next time you make a purchase at ShinyBadges.com, write worms in the transaction comments, and I'll send you something weird.
Lose the winter blues and warm up with hot flooring deals from Lumber Liquidators. Thinking about hardwood? Consider bamboo. We've got the #1 brand, and we'll help you get it for less. Like Strand Bamboo. It's twice as hard as oak, and for a limited time, only $1.99. Why pay as much as $4.99 for bamboo at other stores? We've got deals on over 70 styles from an incredible $179. Plus, pre-finished hardwood, laminate, and more for less than half what you'll pay somewhere else. And 18-month special financing. Now is the time to warm up your home with new floors. So visit LumberLiquidators.com to find a store near you.
There's a guy named Dr. Wallach who is anything but your typical doctor. Both a veterinarian and a naturopathic physician, Doc asks, why is this country spending more money on healthcare by far and ranking 50th in health and longevity worldwide? Doc believes that people should empower themselves with a basic understanding of nutrition, taking charge of their life, and attaining optimal health and longevity through nutrition, not by toxic pharmaceutical drugs that lead to side effects that require more expensive and toxic pharmaceutical drugs. Talk about being dependent on drug companies to our own destruction, no less. This is clearly a deadly recipe. Doc Wallach's message is resonating with an increasing number of Americans who are waking up to all the government and big pharma manipulation of our health and healthcare system. I like what Doc Wallach is saying and doing to enlighten people about healthcare, and I've joined forces with him to help this tireless crusader spread his message. Visit brightsideben.com and listen to Doc Wallach's deadly recipe lectures. It makes a lot of sense, and I invite you to join our Brightside Ben team. Go to brightsideben.com. That's www.brightsideben.com.
Frustrated Superman fans told reporters Monday that the economically healthy and financially stable Daily Planet newspaper is now the most unrealistic aspect of the comic books universe, acknowledging that enjoying the adventures of a superhero that can fly, lift cars over his head, and shoot beams of light out of his eyes requires some suspension of disbelief. Longtime readers said even the comic's most exciting stories are regularly ruined by the implausibility of a thriving daily newspaper, whose advertising revenue and circulation numbers have not at all been threatened by a media landscape overtaken by laptops, smartphones, and aggregation websites.
Look, I could play along with Superman using his breath to freeze a volcano or clapping his hands together to cause some sort of sonic boom, but seeing images of a thriving Daily Planet newsroom not facing layoffs or dwindling home subscriptions just really takes me out of the story. No one in Metropolis has realized they could get news online faster and for free?
This is the Onion News Network.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com.
Liberty activists around the country are starting to realize politics alone won't set us free. So what will? At Liberty on the Rocks, we believe the answer starts with living your principles, spreading ideas, and connecting with those around you. By starting a Liberty on the Rocks network, you can make a difference by uniting libertarian thinkers. Find out how much fun it is to build your local network from the ground up. Visit libertyontherocks.org today to get started.
While our satellite channel is free to listen to, it's not free for us. You can help us cover our satellite costs with the chip-in on the right side of the page at lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live Sunday edition of the program. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. Coming up, we'll talk about power and how it tends to corrupt people. Mark's got that story here in a little bit. Our toll-free number again is 855-450-FREE. And don't forget to join us online. Drop on by freetalklive.com where you can enjoy the features there totally free.
You know, there's no way to avoid all the legal pieces of paper that you need in life. The fact is you have to have them. And they can be rather expensive if you go to an attorney for them. Well, there's an option. You can go to LegalZoom.com. What they do there is they ask you a series of questions, then fill the paperwork out for you, let you check it over, make sure you're happy with it, and then you can turn it in. It's been accepted. They've been accepted in all 50 states. They're not attorneys, but they were started by an attorney. And they're significantly less costly. I think I can't quote the amount of the will, but it's less than $100 for a will. And try that with an attorney, unless they go to LegalZoom. LegalZoom.com. You could use coupon code FTL. That's FTL as in Free Talk Live. Save $10 on your order at LegalZoom.com with coupon code FTL.
So talking about the guys down in Arlington, Texas, who have been arrested, a couple of Copblock members down there, Arlington, Texas being one of the more prominent Copblock chapters out there. There are over 120 of them all around the world, and lots of them in the United States.
That's right. Copblock.org/groups is where you can find one near you.
Or create one.
And you can, if there isn't one near you that you can connect with, create one.
And so there's various different levels of action going on out there, but the Arlington guys have had some news coverage, and of course, when that happens, the police, if you weren't on their radar before, you're definitely going to be on their radar at that point.
One of them still reads the newspaper, and then they'll just show it to the rest.
Yeah, and so I kind of got the feeling like these guys were going to have some trouble with the police there, and it turns out that they were targeted directly in this most recent incident. They were on the streets doing some cop blocking. They had a reporter from the LA Times with them, and they were at a safe remove from a scene that was happening on the streets there in Arlington, Texas. But nonetheless, the police had a backup cruiser arrive with officers who then got out targeting directly the cop blockers. They went straight from the cruiser to the cop blockers, clearly, not even checking in with the scene or whatever. They were there to arrest some cop blockers, or at the very least try to get them to leave the scene.
And to me, the initial stop, they were taking that person out of the car, and so cops will argue that that's a very sensitive, dangerous time when you're having to remove a suspect from a vehicle during traffic. And so that the officers didn't go to them first or at all is very telling. That they had a predetermined agenda of when arriving on that scene. Now, whether or not this is for like all the times they've ever cop blocked reaction of these officers, or just of that day, because I'm not sure if how long they were going before that. If maybe they did something before when the LA Times guy was there. I don't think these guys, they seem to be pretty experienced in their activities, so I can't fathom
Can't
anything.
speak to what's not on the video, right?
But I can't speak to what's not on the video, exactly. And so
yeah, so they are experienced. They've been on the streets a lot, and I think there's some important takeaways here. And I don't want to mention this to scare anyone out of cop blocking, right? But it doesn't matter how experienced you are. It doesn't matter, how many times you've been out and how comfortable you feel around the police. If they want to get you for something, they'll get you for something. They'll just make it up if they have to.
All the more reason why more people should film, right? Because
sure.
Eventually that has to stop. That gives. And, we've long talked about, those who are at the forefront or first to do X, Y, Z, whatever it might be, sometimes pay the highest price for it.
True.
And so we're still at that phase.
The pioneers get the arrows.
These guys had a group. It wasn't just a couple cop blockers. There were a handful, it seemed like, out there. And so that's a good thing, right? Normally I encourage people, don't go out alone. But just because you're not alone doesn't mean you're invincible. It doesn't mean that they won't target you on some trumped up nonsense, and then you'll have to spend months in court and who knows how much money if you want to hire an attorney, which I don't necessarily recommend.
And it can affect your activism because you might not be able to go out because charge stacking. Well, yeah, and then bail conditions. Then you're more in a position to have to take their plea deals as.
Right, one of
Derek
these
J.
guys
found
has been arrested in the past.
Right.
How did that? Do you recall how that case turned out with that guy down there?
I can't recall off the top of my head, or
it
if it is resolved yet. I'm not sure because it could still be in court. It wasn't all that long ago.
If that's still in court, there may be a suspended sentence or bail condition that could make things even more complicated for him.
Exactly.
So even though you've got people out with you, even though you've got cameras, because there was at least 2 or 3 cameras that were out there as well. Even though you've got cameras and people. And the light of day in this case, they still just went right ahead and trumped up some nonsense and arrested these guys. So I want to put that out there like this isn't a risk-free activity. I just want to make sure that's clear to everybody. I think it's an important activity. I think that people should do this, and I think that they should do it in groups and they should do it with cameras. And that,
I think it's a good sign that they're winning, right? Because they're getting this extra attention. And if we would relate it to like my experience or what I know of here in Keene, there were a lot more arrests. Like it seems like when you first come, they try to be nice and maybe not. Then they're like, okay, well, we have to step it up. We have to show these people who's boss. They're clearly not going away with our pleas and politeness. And so then they start to step with the rest. But then they figure like, oh, this is kind of getting painful for us, and it's this and that. And so like, I think we've gotten to a point where like they don't really we get away with more stuff than maybe someone else would.
I think that's mostly true, although there are some exceptions, right? James Cleveland, of course, is now facing sentencing. I don't think we've announced this on the air yet. We did just get news that James Cleveland, who's been in here as a guest co-host on Free Talk Live, he is a early mover for the Free State Project. He moved a couple years ago. More people might know him as Robin Hood of Keene.
Yep.
James was arrested back in the summer last year for a very similar circumstance. He was recording the police, although this was a different scene. He was on the scene of what was going to be a suicide eventually.
At the time, a standoff.
Correct.
From the police standpoint.
And James believed he was far enough away from the scene to where he
after
felt
having
safe.
moved back a couple of times.
Well,
for
the
police.
cops came and they ordered him to move back, and he was willing to move back at that time, but at some point James decided he'd moved back far enough, and then later the police came back a few minutes later, and then they demanded he move again, and when he refused to move that second time, he was then arrested. Ultimately, he went to trial at the end of December for that, and the judge found him guilty on both disorderly conduct and resisting arrest charges. He was facing 2 Class A charges. Now, in our case, in Keene, they did charge him with Class A. Now, in New Hampshire, when you get hit with a Class A misdemeanor, then you can go to a jury. And so James is still waiting to decide whether or not he goes to a jury based on what the sentence
But you still start without one.
Will be. Well, you could have.
You could forgo it, I guess,
right,
but you might as well take the free ride.
Correct. You might as well go through the bench trial because then you get to see them put a case on against you, and
you get to
you'll know who
expose their hand a
witnesses
little
are.
bit.
Exactly.
It's a good strategic idea.
You get a trial run, basically.
Right.
And so he could appeal to a jury if he chooses. His sentencing is coming up in, I think, 2 weeks in on February. So within a few weeks, we'll have the details on exactly what's going to happen with James, who's a great guy, and he wasn't doing anything wrong in that situation either. He was just recording the police. One of the key mistakes he made was he was alone. And that could have affected how that situation turned out.
It is definitely much easier with a group for a number of reasons.
Yeah. Another thing that we often have said here on Free Talk Live is that we don't really recommend doing activism, especially confrontational activism like this, when you're not in New Hampshire. Now, Copblock does something different, right? Like that basically you're saying, yeah, go and let's do this everywhere. What do you think about that? What's your thought process? Because I fear for people out, especially in certain metros where the police officers aren't known to be, well, this is all new to them.
Yeah, I think it's a great thing. I think more people doing it will provide a level of security for a lot of people for a number of reasons. And so the more people doing Copblock all over the place, and by this, because like the cops are a small number of people compared to the population.
Sure.
But how do they, people are afraid of being arrested, so they use fear. I'd much rather see people use accountability and transparency to keep a small group of people in line. And so like I wrote a blog post, a couple months ago about the Copblock bumper sticker on my car and saying how I feel, especially in New Hampshire, that this keeps me from being pulled over. Because especially in New Hampshire, cops are more likely to know what copblock.org is because, Pete and I have been here a lot. There's a large number of folks who are filming the police here, whether they want to associate themselves with.
It hasn't stopped me from getting pulled over, I can tell you that.
Really? Have you been pulled over a lot?
Yeah,
and
I've
it's
been pulled
on
over
there?
multiple times in the cruiser.
Huh. Well,
Yeah.
I guess, you might be at that line where they might be targeting you exactly. But I think in general it might be. But as an example, I'm saying just think if every other car had this on and like every other car that they stopped with this thing had like a person who was, not aggressive, not a threat, not violent, but questions,
We've had situations where activists have been pulled over, and I know Garrett Ian was recently pulled to some extent. He was already on the side of the road, but the cops came up, and when the cop looked in the window, he said something to the effect of, "Oh, it's you," and then turned around and walked away.
So see, there you go. I think that would be the blanket that it could provide.
Yeah. No, but I agree. More people should do it, but if you love freedom, get to a place where there's more cop blockers. Like, you shouldn't do it alone. More coming up. This is Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com.
Majid lives in Nordevin, Armenia with his wife, kids, and grandkids, all in the same house. They have cows, but to compete against the big ranchers, Majid needed to get a loan for more cattle. Free Talk Live helped him get a loan for the cows. He bought them, and now he's very happy with the expansion of his farm. You can help us help more people by getting your coffee through coffee.freetalklive.com. Make a difference, 1 cup at a time. Get a free pound to try out the subscription. Cancel at any time. Coffee.freetalklive.com.
Shiny badges on your jacket, shiny badges.
This is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and I just want to personally apologize for airing a jingle week after week, month after month, that turned out to be such an infectious brainworm. So to make it up to you, I'm offering a free gift. The next time you make a purchase at ShinyBadges.com, write worms in the transaction comments, and I'll send you something weird.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
This is the Liberty Beat, your daily source for liberty news and activist updates, online at thelibertybeat.com. I'm Brian Hagan with your Liberty Beat for Friday, January 23rd, 2015. Gold is trading at $1,299, silver at $18.33, and Bitcoin is trading around $229. Today's precious metal price is brought to you by Midas Resources Incorporated, helping clients convert their paper 401ks and IRAs to solid gold and silver. Get their 10 Reasons book free by calling 800-686-2237. That's 800-686-2237. How much food is in your pantry right now? Could you feed your family for 2 weeks, 1 week? How about even 3 days without any help? Keeping an emergency food storage kit is the most effective way to begin to ensure your family's well-being during an emergency. eFoods Direct is food security for whatever the future holds. Go to efoodsdirect.com/libertybeat or call 800-620-5520 to learn more about food security in a time of crisis. In the news, Silk Road trial, day 6, which began with defense attorney Joshua Dreidel cross-examining FBI agent Tom Kiernan. He's the computer specialist who first examined Ross Ulbricht's computer after his arrest. Ulbricht is the creator of the Silk Road Marketplace and is charged with crimes associated with his alleged involvement in facilitating drug sales between vendors and customers. Part of Dreidel's questioning focused on the fact that BitTorrent, a peer-to-peer file-sharing program, was running on Ulbricht's computer. It appeared he was trying to insinuate that through malware put on Ulbricht's computer, through BitTorrent, someone could have placed the chat logs and journals on his hard drive. Any doubt that may have been in the jury's mind after hearing about the possibility of malware likely vanished after the state's redirect, where U.S. Attorney Howard asked Agent Kiernan if the computer did in fact have any malware. Kiernan replied in the negative. Of significance for the defense, there were chats from Ulbricht with a friend, where he states he sold the site in the fall of 2011. That aligns with an interview conducted in 2013 with Dread Pirate Roberts by Wired reporter Andy Greenberg, where DPR states he acquired the site from someone else. The revelation seems to go along with the defense's narrative that Ulbricht built the site, but later gave it up after it became too stressful. Also revealed during the day through discussion between the judge and the defense is the possibility that Ulbricht himself may take the stand. The Liberty Beat will keep you up to date as the trial continues. To support our efforts to have journalists on the ground through the entirety of the trial in New York, visit thelibertybeat.com and click the support link. Today's broadcast of the Liberty Beat is sponsored by Central Texas Gunworks, your online source for firearms, firearm accessories, and ammunition. They take major credit cards and now accept Bitcoin. Visit them online at shop.centraltexasgunworks.com. This is the Liberty Beat for Friday, January 23rd, 2015. Check out the website at thelibertybeat.com. After more than 2 years behind bars, journalist Barrett Brown has been sentenced to 63 months in federal prison. That word from the Liberty Beat's Derek Brose, who was present during the sentencing yesterday in Dallas, Texas. Brown was also ordered to pay $890,000 in restitution to a number of companies hacked in 2011. Brown was arrested in September of 2012 and has been behind bars for charges stemming from his reporting on the hacking of the servers of HB Gary Federal and Stratfor by the decentralized hacker collective Anonymous. Upon release, Brown cannot handle credit cards, checks, or bank accounts. He'll be on parole for at least 2 years and will only be allowed to use an approved computer, which will monitor all of his activity. An Iowa police officer had his job reinstated after being arrested in December of 2013 for domestic abuse that caused injury and fourth-degree criminal mischief. According to police reports, Officer Cody Grimes choked his former girlfriend, threw her down the stairs of his house, and then threw her in his kitchen after she threatened to report him. Well, that caused her to hit her head and hand. Grimes pled guilty to the lesser charge of criminal mischief, avoiding jail time and paying $1,000 instead. As a result, prosecutors dropped the domestic abuse charge. Now, over 1 year later, the Civil Service Commission of Des Moines has given Cody Grimes his job back, saying that firing him was too severe a punishment. Des Moines police are even giving Grimes a raise. Grimes has a history of abuse, both domestic and on the job. The Liberty Beat is brought to you by My Magic Mud, detoxifying tooth powder, the most effective and affordable dental care around. Get a 150 application jar at mymagicmud.com. This is the Liberty Beat for Friday, January 23rd, 2015. I'm Brian Hagan, reporting. Reminding you, spread liberty with a smile.
Police in Lehman, Michigan describe a local student's recently foiled plans to commit a deadly school shooting as, quote, embarrassingly bad. Authorities apprehended 17-year-old Trent Bayer Thursday after finding him in an empty hallway struggling to load a pathetically small caliber pistol while simultaneously attempting to unfold an inaccurate map of the school. Lehman Police Chief Ethan Holman elaborated several ways Bayer's strategy could have been more effective, including setting off a homemade explosive in the teacher's lounge, executing popular students first, and at the very least purchasing some military fatigues.
You're not going to intimidate anyone by wearing a tucked-in button-down shirt and pleated trousers.
In other news, a jar of change on a dresser is sadly factoring into a number of financial decisions. A teen zebra doesn't give a shit how much you honk, it's not getting out of the road. And Dad's new 20-year-old Thai boyfriend really sucks at categories. And don't forget to never ever drink Pepsi Cola, whose dipshit marketing team backed out of a full-page ad buy at the last minute. For more news, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
Free Talk Live, you take control of the airwaves right here toll free. 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can join us online over at freetalklive.com. Coming up, schools apparently in Illinois can now require students to hand over their social media passwords. We can talk more about that here in a moment as the state becomes even more invasive into your personal life or the life of your sons or daughters. But first, Mark, you have a story about the power, that power corrupts. And it's certainly not an uncommon topic here on Free Talk Live. There are all kinds of, real-life examples of this happening to people. But you've got a related piece. And, of course, it's Ian, Ademo, and Mark in the studio here tonight.
Yeah, Ademo, the founder of Copblock.org.
That's right.
Now, I think that this is one of those chicken and the egg conversations that goes on. Does power corrupt, or do corrupt people seek power?
Well, we know that the latter is definitely true, and Lord Acton, I think, said that the first one was true, and I believe him.
Well, Lord Acton's the guy who got quoted saying something, and that's not how we determine things to be real or true or false in this world, because you can say something, that doesn't make it true.
I've seen it happen.
What, the power corrupts?
Yeah.
How so?
I mean, even some of the liberty activists that get elected around here start doing, in some cases, some questionable things. There was one of them that recently voted to continue a prohibition on having concealed weapons inside the state house, as far as if a state house member, if a state representative has a concealed weapon. And from what I understand, that person has not explained that vote.
That is a private organization where people can decide how it operates. So if
it's a private organization, no, it's a government organization.
Nobody who's forced to go there. Everybody who was elected when the rule was in place. I don't think that qualifies.
Why are you defending this person's vote? I mean, it's clearly
I don't
not
know who that person is.
Vote. I'm not naming the person for reasons of it's just not relevant to the discussion. But
I'm just saying I'm defending the vote because I wouldn't call that an abuse of power. That is a preference.
Well, wait a minute. If you support the freedom to bear arms, as most people within the liberty movement tend to support, like even if they personally don't want to bear arms, they will generally support the freedom of another person to do so. And so to say that, to defend a vote by someone who claims to be pro-freedom to restrict the bearing of arms inside the state house, I don't think is something that a liberty-oriented person should be doing.
I understand what you both are saying. I don't know exact scenario of the topic you're discussing on this person with the vote. Yeah, but I think in general, power tends to corrupt people, and if you look at this scenario, which I think is a good example of it, you get handcuffed. You say like a liberty-minded person would generally support this, and they would, but they're not in the liberty movement when they're in politics. They're not in the deal of advocating freedom. Like, they're in politics, and they have to stay there. And if they call it selling out, call it compromising, whatever it might be, and you could pick any politician from the worst to the best and point to a time where they most likely had to compromise. I mean, this happens in everybody's life, but it's more important when it's people who are purportedly working in your best interest. So
and maybe there was a good reason for it, but from what I understand, and I can't say I've been following it closely. I know we had Dave Ridley call in about this a couple of weeks ago, and he brought it up. Where apparently this person was being called out on online for this vote, and that the person did not respond to the inquiries as to why did you vote this way. So I've seen that happen, and I've seen people sort of change how they behave once they get elected. I think that generally here in New Hampshire, the liberty-oriented reps are far and away the better reps than anyone else, no doubt. I mean, 9 times out of 10. They're going to vote for the right thing. They're going to vote for more freedom. But there's that 1 out of 10 times where there's like a really questionable thing. Like, why did you vote that way if you love freedom? Doesn't make sense.
Oh, I've seen it for myself. I'm on the fire department, and there was a situation where we got called to, I thought there was a brush fire going on, so I went to it. I probably wouldn't have gone if I had known what the circumstances were of the call, because I just wouldn't want to be involved, and then plenty of people, enough people showed up. But there was a guy doing an unauthorized burn. He had put together a pile of trash and set it on fire. In this trash is pressure-treated wood, mattresses, furniture with fire retardants, all these things that you really shouldn't be disposing of in this fashion, especially standing as close as one does. Also, across the street from a family is a house where somebody lives. He's not, I don't want to exaggerate, 70 feet from somebody else's house burning, trash.
Okay.
And the local lieutenant fire marshal says, nope, can't have it. The tanker truck pulls up, or I think it was the tanker truck, pulls up. One of the trucks pull up, and they hand me the hose and say, go put out the fire.
Oh, man.
And I went over there and I put out that man's fire.
Were you sorry about that afterwards?
I was disturbed
Did you realize as you were doing that what you were doing was wrong?
I don't know that why is it wrong?
It's his property. It's his fire.
Nope,
Shouldn't he be able to
not
burn?
his property.
Whose property was it?
The bank possesses it, and he was working for the bank and disposing of it in a fashion that the bank likely would not have appreciated. So there you go.
Well,
see,
that's
you
an
see,
interesting
it's
twist.
sticky, right?
It's a gray area for sure. Because once the bank owns something, no one owns it, and it's weird.
Well, the classic example of this was where a liberty activist who'd been elected to fire chief in Grafton, I think it was, had been called out to a situation where other liberty activists had a bonfire of some sort going, and this dude did turn the hose on and sprayed foam all over these people's bonfire, and there was no reason for it. There was just absolutely no reason
it's
for it.
It's a waste of foam, by the way.
Beyond the fact that, Yeah,
I mean, that stuff's expensive.
Right.
And there was no reason to foam that up.
You're not going to teach Russell Canning a lesson. I mean, he's gonna build another fire at another point. So
you're going to be taught the lesson.
Well, the reason he put the foam in there is so that they wouldn't build a fire in that spot or whatever, or that the water wouldn't have been as effective in preventing a fire being built earlier. Or he just had the foam. That's what was available at the time.
Anyway, he got a lot of critique for that. That officer, that fireman, who was a liberty-minded person, supposedly, got a lot of critique, and I think rightfully so. I think that's one of those situations where the power went to his head, and all he was just a fire chief in one of the smaller towns in New Hampshire.
Right.
Yeah,
so you gotta watch out for that stuff.
The fire chief is probably an unpaid position in that town. It's just it's not like people pile up for these positions. You got to, you're hoping to get folks to do it. Anyway,
so what's the story? Where are we getting it? Where are you getting it from?
Yeah, this one is from ScienceDaily.com.
Okay.
New research published in the Leadership Quarterly highlights the influence of power in leader corruption.
I hate it. I like to just register my frustration with the word leader being used to describe a politician. It's so common in the media, and I find it so objectionable because to me, these people aren't leaders. Nobody in their right mind would follow them anywhere.
Con artists, they're scammers, right?
They're scumbags.
So you're on the side that the corrupt are attracted to power. Is that your claim?
Well,
mostly I would say that's probably true.
Maybe in this case, sure, because of the type of power we're discussing, because there's different types of power.
Yes. Okay, so this is actually not just politician power. This is showing that, power in all situations has a corrupting influence.
So like the head of a corporation or charity or something like that?
Right.
Okay. Those people would be more accurately termed as leaders because they are actually leading an organization in some way, I think.
Well,
But
I mean,
politicians
think
no.
of the captain for a second, sending his troops over to take the hill, knowing quite possibly that that this could be a suicide mission or at least a costly mission in the sense of lives. He's probably not going to share that information. Look, boys,
that's right, and he's probably not going to be in the group
2/3 of you are not
hill.
coming back.
Right. By our calculations, 75% of you will be dead within the next 2 hours. They're not going to share that information. Now, is that a corrupt thing to do? I would say it is. That if you're going to send somebody up over a hill, especially a draftee, if somebody signed up for it, I suppose there's a better argument. But if a draftee, if you're going to send somebody up over the hill, you ought to tell them what the dangers are.
I don't even know what they exactly. I've never signed up. Like, do they tell you like when you sign up, like, hey, we might put you in a situation where you are outnumbered, left for dead?
Isn't it obvious?
And well, maybe not.
This is why they ask 17-year-olds to sign up.
What I'm saying
you.
is like, I mean, I didn't really fall for that stuff, but like, hey, it's like, hey, do you want to travel? Do you want to like get trained and do
I
cool
fell for
stuff?
it. Absolutely.
And so, like, do they say like, hey, you might get your leg blown off?
All right, we're going to come back with more here in moments. 8:55, 450 free. You can take control of the airwaves here. Bring up whatever's on your mind on Free Talk Live's Live Sunday edition.
In a trial by jury, the primary function of a juror is not to dispense punishment to the accused. It is to protect your fellow citizens from being unjustly deprived of their life, liberty, or property. As a juror, you can say no to unjust laws and prevent government abuses of power by refusing to convict. Legislative, executive, judicial. The fourth branch of government is we the people. Find out more from the Fully Informed Jury Association at fija.org.
Majid lives in Nordevin, Armenia with his wife, kids, and grandkids, all in the same house. They have cows, but to compete against the big ranchers, Majid needed to get a loan for more cattle. Free Talk Live helped him get a loan for the cows. He bought them, and now he's very happy with the expansion of his farm. You can help us help more people by getting your coffee through coffee.freetalklive.com. Make a difference, 1 cup at a time. Get a free pound to try out the subscription. Cancel at any time. Coffee.freetalklive.com.
Gold. It's like nothing else on Earth. From the Romans through the Renaissance, from the Industrial Age to the Space Age, gold has weathered the test of time. For 6,000 years, gold has remained the ultimate store of wealth. According to the World Gold Council and the U.S. Mint, demand is at an all-time high. The stage is being set for the reemergence of gold as the common-sense alternative to a fiat paper currency that gets weaker every day. Midas Resources is proud to offer the hard-hitting report that arms you with the truth you need to protect you and your family from the Fed's plans for your hard-earned money. Don't gamble with your future. Call Midas Resources today and ask for your free copy of As Good as Gold. Call 1-800-686-2237 for the report the Fed hopes you'll never see. As Good as Gold can be yours by calling 800-686-2237. If you have ever thought about owning gold, you must read this report. Call Midas today at 800-686-2237.
What if the key to achieving liberty in your lifetime was to move together with others who think like you? Liberty activists are joining the Free State Project, which is over 70% of the way to its goal of 20,000 participants. And they're already making the move to New Hampshire. The successes are piling up and are proving the Free State Project is a real movement and no longer just a great idea. When you're planning your move, consider Keene. Keene is famous for its civil disobedience and non-cooperation, and there's plenty of political opportunity as well. From demonstrations and vigils to outreach and volunteering, there's a lot going on in Keene. Keene is the liberty media capital of the world, with television, talk radio, and more, all originating here. Though it's more than just activism, with regular social events each week. See what's happening at freekeene.com and get connected with video, audio, free books, a forum, and activist tools you can download and use in your area at freekeene.com. That's freekeene.com. Free Talk Live has partnered with Amazon, the largest internet retailer. Imagine a department store category, and Amazon has it. Books, electronics, office products, furniture, jewelry, automotive, toys, clothing, sporting goods, and dozens of other categories. Now you can shop and support Free Talk Live by entering Amazon through our website. Go to shop.freetalklive.com, and Amazon will send us a portion of your purchase. You're going to do the shopping anyway, so remember to enter through our site at shop.freetalklive.com. That's shop.freetalklive.com. Ross Ulbricht was arrested by the FBI in 2013 and charged with victimless crimes in relation to allegedly operating the Bitcoin-based Silk Road black market. He has been in a prison cell awaiting trial ever since. If he did it, he's a hero for making the black market a safer place. If he did not, he's a man wrongfully accused. Either way, if you love freedom and want to end the war on drugs, Ross and his family need your support. You can learn more and help fund his defense at freeross.org. That's freeross.org.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You dial toll-free if you want. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got Skype. Our Skype username is LRN.FM. With you tonight in the studio, it's me, Ian.
And Adamo.
And Mark.
Don't forget to check out Adamo's website, copblock.org. It's a great site. All kinds of useful information worth sharing over at copblock.org. Updated at least daily, if not, seems like multiple times a day. It's a busy site.
Oh, yeah, it's active. And the social networks as well. You find all the links right there on the homepage.
Copblock.org. As we continue, we'll go to your calls and thoughts. Mark, you do have a lot more on this power corrupting issue.
I've gotten to basically the first sentence of the article.
Yeah, we've been riffing on it quite a bit. Corral is with us first, though, listening in Atlantic City to WPG. Hello, Corral.
Carl, but that's close. I've been called worse.
Sorry about that. Is it Coral or Carl?
Just Carl.
Carl, C-A-R-L.
Yeah, okay.
But it's C, not a K. But,
Gotcha.
I want to bring Atlantic City, the governor brought in two big guns into Atlantic City. These are the guys that took Detroit into bankruptcy and got them out of it. They've been brought into Atlantic City because that's how bad Atlantic City is now. And nothing's off the table, not even the schools. Now, I bring up the schools because they're going to bring down the cost per student by $8,000. Now, what I got to say about that? You say, oh, $8,000, that's what? Well, that'll bring them down to the state average of $18,000 per student.
So wait, just to clarify what you're saying here is in your area of New Jersey, in the Atlantic City area, it is currently costing the government $26,000 per pupil?
In Atlantic City, yes.
Wow.
That's per year.
Right.
Per year.
Yeah,
Right.
you can get a pretty good private school most places in the country for something like $8,000 a year. So
I know.
You're talking about 3 times that number, and it's incredible. And I just don't.
Right.
How does this happen? I know the answer is that every kid now is a special needs kid, and I don't dispute that. I think every kid is a special needs kid. I just don't like the government's definition of that. I believe that everybody learns differently, and smaller groups are far better. But God, they're so and they're graduating. Their graduation, and it's been some time since I've seen these numbers, but within the last 10 years, I saw numbers that
60%.
said 60% of their students are graduating, maybe in your area, but 25% of those students that are graduating are functionally illiterate. I mean, I think you could stop funding government schools entirely and get a 25% illiteracy rate.
I agree. And if you could send them to Catholic school, they wouldn't have them special problems because they beat it out of them about a week, huh?
Oh, that's such a much better alternative.
I don't know if violence
The Catholic schools are probably the reason that we have public schools in the first place, because what happened was the Protestant majority said, oh, no, we can't have Catholics giving away free schooling. We need to use the power of government, and so they...
Well, that doesn't mean you blame it on the Catholics. You blame it on the
Protestants.
Protestants.
I'm not blaming the Catholics. No, I'm blaming the Protestants.
Okay.
The Catholics weren't doing anything wrong.
Right, okay. Carl, anything else you want to share?
Well, that will save the Atlantic City $57,952,000 a year by lowering that rate.
If they lower that rate. Now, are they going to lower that rate, or is that like a ballot measure where people have to vote on
No,
that?
I don't think so. That's why they brought these big guns in from Detroit. because they got to do it. They got
Big guns. I mean, Detroit's like bankrupt. Like,
what do you mean they got to do it?
No, they're out of. They're not bankrupt now. This lawyer and this other guy got them out of bankruptcy.
Oh, really? That's news to me.
That'd be news to me.
I haven't
breaking
seen that
news to me. I assume.
about that. We'll have to look into Detroit there. But what you're saying is the school board there in Atlantic City is they have to cut the budget. They have to cut that amount.
Yes, and then there's going to be a whole lot of public employees laid off.
Why? What was it that maybe I missed that in your call? What was the reason why they had to make that cut?
Because 15% of their money right now is going to bonds. I don't even not sure how many bonds they. And guess what? If they go bankrupt, then bondholders are going to be out of that money. Well, what happened?
I don't understand all the money and
I don't understand.
Well, the economy. But the economy went bad, and what their land is worth. The casino said we overpaid, and they had to borrow money to give the money back to the casino.
So what you're saying is they can't get the taxes. They can't raise taxes fast enough to make up for the money that they're not collecting that they were collecting during like the economic heyday about a decade ago.
Right.
I get where you're coming from there. Thanks, Carl, for your call tonight. I appreciate it. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. So I guess I see what he was saying. Back when, the real estate bubble was happening, that, the governments were rolling in dough because the housing values were going up and therefore the property taxes.
For them, yep.
So, and then the economy had a difficult time and arguably still is in some ways. And so,
notice that they're the last ones to take the to tighten the belt, though.
Yeah.
I mean, they really don't have to because they can just extort money from you.
Right.
They got as drunk and happy as anybody else did when the housing bubble was going on. People out there taking out second mortgages to buy Escalades and all that crap that was going on. But the politicians bought the Escalades and they're still buying them.
So there's an
They're
interesting
like, we're going to downsize to a Mercury. I mean,
so it's interesting that he brought that up. And we'll get back into the power discussion here in a moment, but there's a related story here in Keene. I think there's a good example of just the kind of ripe political situation that we have here. Keene's historically been known for its civil disobedience and people like you, Ademo, moving here from Copblock and, some of these high-level activist types being here and the different outside of the system stuff that's sort of churned from that. But there's also, I think, a really ripe political opportunity in Keene. For instance, in New Hampshire, they have these things that they do on a yearly basis that they're essentially these school deliberative sessions, I believe that they're called. And what happens is they go to the high school, the school board meets there, and then as many people in the community who are interested show up. Now, 90% of the people that show up are teachers. They're government school teachers or janitors or whoever. Somebody working.
Employees, so closely directly
someone
related.
Working for getting
Connected.
a paycheck from the school system. They're the ones who have the most interest in showing up at these meetings. But liberty activists over the last few years have started showing up as well. And so we're kind of like the only opposition to all of these proposals or at least the only principled opposition to these proposals for more spending. So normally they start these meetings with a proposal to increase the budget every single year. And then in the meeting, they take proposals from people in the audience to increase the budget even more. We work in the music department and we need more money over here. And then so like the music department.
So what about the kids sale, right? Like, what about the kids? What about the kids?
There are people who will vote against that who are even the teachers because some of the teachers don't want the other departments to get the money. So it's not like
English can't let music.
Right.
Yeah.
Not all of the teachers will vote for all of the increases. And so it actually ended up to where last year we had enough Free State Project participants who were in the audience there to actually stop some proposed increases because we had enough of a margin of votes to prevent the proposed increases. But when we tried to propose things like reducing the budget, of course, those things were shot down. Is 90 to 10.
Okay, it's like, do you need like a 50-50 to stop something?
If you had 51%, you'd be able to control the entire meeting.
So majority passes an issue.
Exactly.
Of course, once they figure out that you're coming, then all the other teachers are like, whoa, I can't take that day off. I'm going to have to go support my teachers.
Maybe they would, maybe they wouldn't. I mean, they already know we're there. They just don't, they're not.
They're not taking you very seriously.
They're not taking us seriously.
You haven't accomplished anything by going yet.
No, we have accomplished the stopping of some spending increases.
Okay.
That much has definitely been accomplished.
Thank you for that.
It'd be nice to turn around the budgets and, lower them, but that's the tricky part. But my point being that all it would take would be another, 90 people to show up. I mean, really, a few hundred activists moving to any town in New Hampshire could have a major impact. There's more coming up.
Hey, guess what? They've got some great deals for Valentine's Day at Guns80.com. They're calling it the Sweetheart Special. Guns80.com has lowered the price way down to $400 up until Valentine's Day. Order your Ghost AR-15 now. Tell your sweetheart that this is the right gift at the right time. Buy one for yourself. Buy one for your sweetheart, too. Your sweetheart will thank you for being so tuned into his or her needs. Get a brand new Ghost AR-15 right now for $400. Heck, buy two. His and hers. Go to Guns80.com or call and ask for the Sweetheart Deal. Love is in the air at Guns80.com. Call now, 844-2GUNS80. That's 844-248-6780. It's a sweetheart of a deal. Actually, it's a steal at $400. So call Guns80.com at 844-2GUNS80. But hurry, supplies are limited. Call 844-2GUNS80 or get your Ghost AR-15 today at Guns80.com on the web.
Since time began, tyrants have taken aim at personal liberties. Now there's a movie that aims back.
The government has no more right to tell us what to put in our bodies than they have to take our guns or tell us what books we can read.
6 drug police were eaten by bears while raiding a marijuana farm.
On your knees, you dirty hippies! Jesus. On your knees! What's the problem, officer?
Today, many cops who enforce pot laws do so only because it provides them with cushy jobs, good benefits, and a chance to push people around.
I was an undercover narcotics officer. The drug war is nothing but a farce.
The Second Amendment says you got to keep you and your gat intact.
Guns and Weed, The Road to Freedom. A film by Michael W. Dean and Nima Vadadi.
DVD available now at gunsandweed.com or on Amazon. That's gunsandweed.com. Makes the perfect gift. Remember, that's gunsandweed.com.
I love My Magic Mud. I drink a lot of coffee. I had stains on my teeth. Then I found My Magic Mud, and I was told it would remove stains. So I paid attention when I brushed the first time. My Magic Mud is black tooth powder, and the difference it made in my teeth in one application was noticeable. With 4, my teeth were as white as you normal folks out there. Please go to mymagicmud.com and buy a jar. There's 150 applications for $25. You can use Bitcoin, mymagicmud.com. The 3 most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share 1 episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. It's my firm belief that Free Talk Live's AMP program is the best use of your charitable dollar among liberty-oriented organizations. Support all the organizations you love, but make sure you give $5 a month to AMP at amp.freetalklive.com.
The warning signs.
First, he made me feel special. He promised he'd look after me, provide for my future. He broke every promise he made.
Millions of Americans afflicted.
I was ready to leave, but he told me he'd change. So I gave him another chance. I was such a fool.
The consequences.
Things only got worse. He started making my decisions for me, about my job, my kids' education, my money, my safety, my future. He took away my choices, but I kept going back to the same politicians.
The diagnosis? Battered voter syndrome.
I fell for the same old lies. They were just playing with my emotions, telling me what I wanted to hear. That's not right.
Stop the insanity of voting for the same old abusers. Declare your independence from the two-party system and join the New Hampshire Liberty Party today at nhliberty.info.
This is the Liberty Radio Network, broadcasting the latest liberty-oriented audio content 24 hours a day at lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live Sunday edition, toll-free number 855-450-FREE. And again, toll-free 855-450-3733. We've got Skype. Skype on into the show, username lrn.fm. With you in studio, you've got me, Ian.
Ademo.
And Mark.
And coming up, more about power corrupting. There's certainly a lot of evidence for it, and Mark's going to go through some news and, or I guess, an opinion. I was an opinion piece, a sort of overview. What would you call this exactly?
I would call it an overview.
An overview of a study.
Science Daily.
From Science Daily. We'll get into that here. I'm fascinated with it. And we were just talking a moment ago about some of the political opportunities here in New Hampshire. I was touching on one of them. Of course, we're all here as part of the Free State Project. We made the move to New Hampshire as early movers in the Free State Project. The idea being, hey, let's get liberty-minded people who care about freedom, to actually come to the same place and get active together, because we can have a greater effect in whatever it is that we're doing, whether it's doing Copblock or whether it's running for political office. We can have a greater effect, and we've seen that that's the case. The Free State Project is not some sort of pie-in-the-sky concept anymore. It's real. It's been happening. People have been moving for more than a decade, and people are moving every single week. There's new movers parties that they throw out in Manchester every single month, where multiple people are attending as new movers. And of course, there's always people moving into other parts of the state on a regular or irregular basis as well. We're going to see, hopefully, those numbers will be increasing. Over 16,000 people have pledged to make the move to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project. And over 1,600 are currently here already. So we've got over 10% actually of the current total membership numbers have already been, they're already here in New Hampshire. So I'm excited about where we're at today, with over a dozen Free State Project participants actually elected to political office, and a burgeoning and exciting scene of sort of outside the system activism as well. It's really
an exciting time. There's a lot of happenings here in the Shire.
Yeah, I'd like to encourage anybody who loves liberty to make the move up here. Do the research, get out there and go to 101reasonsfilm.com, watch the 60-minute documentary about the 101 reasons why liberty lives in New Hampshire. This is the best place. It's already arguably the freest place in the United States and probably the whole world in a lot of ways. And it's going to get better as more liberty activists move here. And as I was saying, there's some real opportunity here. James Cleveland, we talked about how he's been found guilty of recording the police, which of course isn't the actual charge. They charged him with disorderly conduct for recording the police and resisting arrest for recording the police. He's been found guilty of those things. James ran for political office, state rep here in Keene in 2014. Now, he didn't win the primary, but the guy he was up against in the primary only got 70 more votes than James did. And there were only like 100 and something, maybe 120 or whatever, 100 votes cast in the election.
So he pretty much got creamed.
Well, yeah, but that said, as I was pointing out before, 70 people or 100 people could overturn anything that happens in the school board meeting that happens yearly here, and 70 people in that one voting ward in Keene would have been able to flip that election to James as the winner. And had James won that primary, he would have gone on to face another liberty activist in the actual election. So it could have been one freedom activist versus another freedom activist, which I think we're going to see more of that happening here in New Hampshire as time goes on.
Plus, you could say that he's taking votes away from the other, worse candidates for what, I don't know how that would work out, but it could be a bad or it could be a good. So it'd be a flip side of the coin.
I think what's really important is they're offering options. So many Americans are getting the choice of, big government red team or big government blue team.
Right.
That's true.
And at the very least, you're getting some other choice here in New Hampshire. I think the best hope for Keene comes from the state capitol, not from the city council building or whatever, the city hall. I think that's a lost cause. And
well, James was running for state rep, not a city position.
I understand, but what I'm saying is
my point was what I wanted to focus on was the small amounts of numbers that can have an impact here in New Hampshire. That you could win a primary election with 100 voters here in Keene, which is like the 7th largest city in New Hampshire, and there's not a lot of big cities here. There's Manchester with 100,000 people. I don't know what the turnouts are like in Manchester, but in most primary elections in New Hampshire, it's a relatively small amount of like the most hardcore political people. And I think what's important to know about the Free State Project from a political perspective is right now you could probably argue that the Free State Project has maybe more activists on the ground in New Hampshire than the Republicans and or Democrats do within their own parties. I don't know if that's necessarily yet a true statement, but it's going to be getting close very soon, because there's only some, like, I'm not talking about people who will vote Republican or Democrat. I'm talking about the people who are activists for the Republicans and Democrats. Yeah. And they only have so many people who have that level of dedication to, show up to a party meeting or something.
This is a secret, the out in the open secret that many Americans don't really get is that your political system isn't controlled by the politicians, and it isn't controlled by the voters. It's controlled by the party activists on the state level. And those people really make a difference. In a state like New Hampshire, there may be 1,500 Republican activists and 1,500 Democrat activists. Those numbers might vary.
Be 500, honestly. I don't know.
I'm telling you, I go to the state Republican convention, and I'm willing to bet that I'm giving you some pretty good numbers. So when you see the Free Staters come in, these people are extra active, and many of them are involved in politics. So you see, it's important. They're still outnumbered, but they're very influential.
So we were talking about politics and specifically power. Now, on one hand, there are great political opportunities here. On the other hand, it is political power, and that comes with it some dangers. That power corrupts people, even libertarians, and so I think people need to be aware of that. And I think that maybe the best way to fight against it is to communicate and to hold people accountable for their actions, even once they get elected. Like, hey, you're supposed to be a libertarian. Why would you vote like this? To have that community here to hold them accountable, we've got that too. Right, so there's the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance that actually looks at all of the votes or a lot of the votes that the state reps make, and then they grade the state reps, all 400 of them, and the 24 senators as well. So 424 politicians get an A through F ranking, with constitutional threat being actually worse than F, but they get this ranking range that they receive a report card essentially every single year from the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance. And again, that kind of helps keep some pressure on these politicians.
Kind of helps. That's a pretty big deal, and it's not happening in 49 other states.
No, it's an amazing thing.
It's an amazing thing. It cannot be overstated what an incredible thing that is, and what an influence that's going to have.
And that's just one of the things that they do. Yeah, the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance also looks at all the legislation, and they rank the legislation based on whether or not it is liberty-oriented or not, and that's a tremendous task to take, I think this year it's 800 pieces of legislation, 800 proposed pieces of legislation, and to have the volunteers to go through all of them and make voting recommendations.
That's why I'm saying, while you guys are discussing this, I'm thinking in my head, like, well, do you want good politicians or do you want bad politicians? It's like, you want good cops.
I don't want any politicians.
Well, exactly. And
but you don't get that choice.
I'd much rather have them, do whatever it takes to get to the logical conclusion of no state. But, I mean, if there was a politician and you asked, why are you voting this way? And if I was a politician, I feel the only way I could answer in good conscience is saying that I've chosen this megaphone, I've chosen this avenue, and I must stay here to advocate that. And so, as long as you would be, truthful, because instead they're telling you oh, I support issue X and I'll do whatever it takes, Mr. Freeman, to get issue X there, and then all of a sudden, well, the way life works up here is if I gotta stay, I gotta play ball, and sorry, your issue wasn't as important. They're
they
transparent.
Call that political capital. Oh, I don't have the political
capital
to
spend on
that
you.
issue.
I'm sorry.
I have to hold my political capital until a more important issue.
But if you give me your vote this year, next year I might be able to spend that capital on you. Anyways, but so that's ultimately what happens. Now, if the politicians' goal is to actually change the system within, they're going to fail. The power or the system is going to corrupt themselves. But if I feel that they're there for the megaphone, and so let's say there's an issue I had to vote for party-wise or something like that, or to exist. But if I was still saying that, hey, that's why, and it's bad,
you'd be speaking out about it.
You'd be speaking out about it, and so highlight it. So but you also would have to realize that your career is probably in jeopardy because of that. So it's a very fine line, I guess.
Well, the nice thing about New Hampshire is that there's not much of a career in being a New Hampshire state representative. You get paid $100 a year.
Well, those the ones that are figuring a career that that's the launching pad, right? They want to go down to D.C. They want to be governor.
Oh, I see what you mean.
So if they're actually looking to have a profitable career,
going from state rep to D.C. in New Hampshire would be a pretty difficult step. More coming up here. 855 450 free. You take control. Power corrupts.
And now from the Cato Institute, the Cato Constitution Minute. In the 1930s, the Supreme Court adopted a radical new theory of the Constitution. Although the justices had initially resisted Franklin Roosevelt's progressive efforts to control the nation's economy, they relented, allowing the government to override many private decisions. in spite of the fact that to our founders, government existed to protect individual liberty. But to this day, many politicians and unelected officials still retain dangerous levels of power over personal and economic choices. This was strongly illustrated by a 2005 Supreme Court ruling, the Kelo decision, allowing states to use eminent domain, confiscating private property to benefit private developers. This decision had its roots in the progressive era of 70 years earlier, when the court diluted our rights. These roots still dangerously pull against our liberty. To learn more, visit the Cato Institute online at cato.org.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for $35,000. You heard right, that's 5,000 square feet for $35,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100-foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL. Lock in your price now. Call 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, add yourself to the Shire map at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. You can listen to Free Talk Live on the radio, podcast, satellite, webcam, and our live streams. But did you know you can listen to Free Talk Live from any phone, anywhere? Add this number to your phone, 213-493-0308. It's a long-distance call, so make sure you're familiar with your phone's calling plan. The listen lines are airing the latest episode of Free Talk Live 24 hours a day, including our live shows. Call 213-493-0308. That's 213-493-0308.
Do you drink coffee? Was the last cup of coffee you had really good? Free Talk Live is teamed up with BuzzBox to bring you the best of the best coffee. Shade-grown, organic, top 1% grade Arabica. But what's different is for every 10 people that get their coffee through coffee.freetalklive.com, we can give another microloan through Kiva. Get a free pound to try it out. A free pound of the best coffee. Help others one cup at a time. Coffee.freetalklive.com.
You can sign up to receive the latest about the Liberty Radio Network via our email updates at updates.lrn.fm. That's updates.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live, and you can bring up what you want toll free here at 855-450-FREE. We touched on this Power Corrupts article, and we're going to continue with that here in a moment. You can, of course, bring up anything you'd like. You can join us online at freetalklive.com, where you can get free coffee, an entire pound of it, as a matter of fact.
That's right, a free pound of coffee at coffee.freetalklive.com. It's 100% organic and shade-grown and made with top 1% grade Arabica beans. And this is among the best tasting coffee you'll ever drink in your life. Now, the other thing about BuzzBox Coffee is that they help us help people around the world. They give back some of the profits to Free Talk Live, and we're able to give out microloans through kiva.org. And we've helped many people, and we're going to be able to help many people more. Those people, they're paying their loans back. I get little updates on the loans as they get paid back, and it excites me because when that money comes back, I'm able to, right when they pay back like $1 at a time. I mean, it takes them a while to pay this back. These people are in countries that look at the dollar entirely differently than we do. And they pay it back $1 at a time, but every time those dollars come in, 25 people paying back $1, that's another loan that we're able to give out to another person. And we're really excited about this. And if you want to join with us, you can upgrade your coffee drinking experience. You can drink better, healthier coffee, and you can help people around the world. So it's also, you don't have to do the coffee shopping anymore. It's all taken care of because you just you customize your delivery the way you want it. Coffee.freetalklive.com.
All right, let's go to the phones and the fun. We've got Kenny. He's on the line in Texas. This is one of the people who we discussed throughout the first hour of the show. Kenny, you are with Arlington Cop Block. Welcome to Free Talk Live.
Yes, thank you. So,
it's good to have you here. I don't know if you heard the first hour, did you?
No, I didn't.
Okay.
No, I actually got the message through my Facebook. And said, hey, they're talking about y'all guys. And so I got on your little website deal and got in the chat room to see if the discussion was still going on.
So we it's not still going on, but it's Free Talk Live, so we can always go back to it. So it's not a problem at all.
Right.
So glad to have you here. Just to recap, basically, we did talk extensively sort of about what happened. You guys were out cop blocking in Arlington, Texas, just to bring our listeners up to speed who also may not have been listening at the time. So you guys were out doing what was an epic day of like a 12-hour-long cop blocking with multiple people being involved. You actually had a reporter from the LA Times out with you, and apparently later on in the afternoon, after the reporter leaves, right afterwards, the police zeroed in on a couple of you guys and threatened you over open carrying an old black powder pistol. And both of the people who were arrested did not have that pistol. Only, was it you, Kenny, that had the pistol?
Yeah. Yeah, that was me. They do that every time. Whenever we have reporters out, they wait till they leave, and then they pounce on us. They actually have, get this, City of Arlington has a special force just for us. It's called the Special Op Force.
Really?
That's a little creepy.
Yeah. Yes.
How did you come across this information?
Yeah, what makes you think that they're just for you?
Because they set it on the scanner. On our scanner. Corey and I we started, I don't know, about 10 o'clock before we met up with the rest of the group and the news reporters. And we did an open carry over in South Arlington, and we were listening on the scanner, and as soon as, I don't know, after about 5 or 10 minutes, they come on the scanner and said, hey, the dispatch did. They said, we got 2 guys carrying blah, blah, blah. And the other officer said, all right, I'm en route. And the sergeant, or I'm assuming it was the sergeant, somebody, their superior, said, hey, listen, guys, this is for the special ops team. If they're not doing anything wrong, if they're not harming anybody, leave them alone and let them be. And we have that on recording of this on the scanner.
Until the special ops shows up.
Yeah, the special ops. Well, that's in South Arlington. Arlington's got 4 divisions, the north, south, east, and west. We go over on the east side, and that's where the arrest goes down. There's some hard noses over there. I mean, they don't like Constitution. They don't like people's rights. They don't care. It's revenue over there.
This is a big city, by the way. We were wondering how big Arlington is. I just checked, according to Google, almost 400,000 people living in the city of Arlington. Is that right?
Oh yeah, and they write about 4 million tickets.
How many cops? 4 million tickets. How many cops are on the Arlington? You said there's 4 different divisions in total.
Right.
Do you know how many cops there are in the city police department?
I don't know. I can't tell you right offhand.
Because I know in a city,
I do know that there's a lot.
Yeah, I know that in Manchester, which is a city of 100,000, there are about 200 cops. So I guess you probably have around 800. Would be my guess.
Oh, absolutely. And the college there has their own police department, police force, the UT police department.
So, I mean, how many – now, look, you guys have been on the news. You guys were featured. Arlington, Texas Cop Block was featured on Bill O'Reilly where, they made fun of you.
The no-spin zone.
Because they don't actually have anything intelligent to say, so they attacked the beard of one of the guys in Cop Block. And so, I mean, I would imagine that it was at that point that you got on the radar of the Arlington Police Department in a big way, if you weren't already. How many of these guys do you think already knew who you were? I mean, do you get that feeling that there's been a memo sent out about Arlington Cop Block?
Most definitely. I mean, they have us on the radar. You hit it right. I mean, they know exactly who we are. They know exactly what we drive. And they know us by our names. I mean, they pull up, and
Hey Kenny, how's it going? I got your handcuffs with me today.
Right. You're next. You know, and the thing is, like yesterday, and I've seen this in the chat room, some about our black powder. I don't know what the laws is for guns up there in New Hampshire, but here in Texas. We are one of 5 states out of 50 that cannot open carry. And people think Texas, we're down here slinging 6-shooters on our hips, and that's not the case. And the law
I've heard
is,
you guys even have like metal detectors at the State House.
Oh yeah.
It's just about every state house.
We don't do that here in
except for
New Hampshire.
Yeah.
Wow. Hey, we might even move up there because it seems like there's more freedom up there than there is here in Texas.
Well, you can open carry an actual pistol.
You can
here
open
in New
carry
Hampshire.
whatever the hell you want here in New Hampshire. Yeah, but it's not perfect. I mean, New Hampshire isn't a perfect destination. There's problems here too. But I can tell you this. I'm originally from the South, technically Florida, and the cops up here are just less scary to me. I don't know. I mean, Ademo, do you feel the same way about the New Hampshire cops?
Yeah, I mean, maybe that's in part their natural demeanor, but also here in Keene, particularly, there was a good 5-6 years, or 4 for sure, of cops getting used to activists before I showed up. So,
but you guys are hardcore. I mean, going out for 12 hours to Cop Block. How many people were involved? That's a long running shift. How many people would you say were involved over the entirety of that 12 hours? That sounds like you had a good crew.
We had about roughly about 10 of us. And
nice.
It usually starts out with Corey Watkins and I, and maybe Jacob Cordova sometimes, but it mainly starts out with Corey and I. And we'll start out in the morning, just kind of hit around, see what's happening, and then about noon, 1 o'clock, about mid-range, we get more people involved. And then as the evening goes, it kind of dies out because everybody's tired. But we've started. I mean, we've put in some, 15, 16 hours sometimes, going to like 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning when the bars are closing.
Now you said
we thought those are called our film trips, because during those times like that, on those days, our film trips, we filmed government buildings. We went and filmed the last one we had. We filmed the Department of Treasury. And that is on our YouTube channel, and they just come out and tell us that that's federal property. They're self-sufficient, and none of our money, our taxes didn't pay that. That's a closed area, and we can't be there.
So you guys are facing. Was it an interfering with government business charge?
A public official.
Yeah. It's always interfering with police duties is what it is. And I think Joseph, that was his charge. I've got the charge for interfering with police duty.
And then a disorderly,
right? Disorderly conduct while displaying a firearm.
Did they keep your firearm? Did they confiscate?
Oh, yeah. They kept that and my cell phone.
So they stole your property and your cell phone.
Kenny, do you have more time to talk about this? I'd really like to know a little more about your experience and specifically what you're planning on doing, coming up as far as going to court, etc. So if you can stick with us through the news, we're going to bring you back in hour number 3. Stand by. More with Kenny from Arlington, Texas, Cop Block, copblock.org. We got the founder of Cop Block in the studio with us here tonight. Ademo Freeman is here, and we are Free Talk Live. There's more coming up.
Inventory isn't about products, kid. It's about money. Product sitting on shelves is money sitting on shelves. I hate overstock. I hate understock. I hate wasting time. I hate wasting money. That's why I love Grainger. Grainger KeepStock Solutions help us manage our facility's inventory, so we have exactly what we need when we need it. No more, no less. It's inventory management my way. Get it? Got it? Good. Visit Grainger.com/keepstock for more information. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Shiny badges on your jacket. Shiny badges.
This is Davi Barker from ShinyBadges.com, and I just want to personally apologize for airing a jingle week after week, month after month, that turned out to be such an infectious brainworm. So to make it up to you, I'm offering a free gift. The next time you make a purchase at ShinyBadges.com, write worms in the transaction comments, and I'll send you something weird.
Did you know that Free Aid is a mutual aid, educational, and networking organization? At Free Aid, we support volunteers who provide first aid. We do outreach to the public about health and safety, and we bring together medically skilled freedom lovers. Free Aid is made possible by your generous support. Donors can receive great gifts like first aid kits, t-shirts, silver dime cards, and hoodies. The Free Aid Silver Dime Card Project is sponsored in part by Roberts & Roberts Brokerage, Freedom's Phoenix, and Don't Tread on Meme. Visit fr33aid.com.
Did you know that you can listen to and watch Free Talk Live during our live show 7 days a week from 7 to 10 p.m. Eastern via our studio cam at cam.freetalklive.com? Not only that, but you can also chat with other listeners at the same time. Do I need to mention that both the studio cam and chat room are totally free? Outside of Free Talk Live's live hours, you won't see a cam feed, but will hear audio from the Liberty Radio Network. So listen, watch, and chat all free at cam.freetalklive.com. That's cam.freetalklive.com.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Sunday, January 25th, 2015. Silver is trading at $18.37 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,295 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $248. Antiwar.com reports at least 30 people were killed and 97 others wounded on Saturday when missiles hit a residential district in the eastern Ukrainian port city of Mariupol, adding to the rising death toll after the ceasefire collapsed last week. Eastern Ukrainian rebels confirmed they are in the process of launching an offensive against government-held Mariupol with an eye towards expelling the military from the Donetsk Oblast. However, they deny firing any rockets. The Ukrainian military, ever looking to escalate things internationally, claimed the attack was a crime against humanity committed by the Russian military. As usual, they offered no evidence for this assessment. Such a situation is all too common on both sides of the ongoing East Ukrainian war, as massive civilian casualties in the war are regularly denied by each side, even when usually only one or the other would have plausibly been attacking the area. For over 35 years, Roberts & Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin for precious metal purchases and permanently removed the minimum purchase order for all orders paid in the digital currency. Call Roberts & Roberts today for knowledgeable advice on investing and a forward-thinking approach to new technologies. 850-478-5270 or online at rrbi.co. Reuters reports 2 balloonists took flight from Japan on Saturday in a bid to break world records for distance and duration for gas balloon travel in what they hope will be at least a 6-day trans-Pacific flight reaching the U.S. West Coast. The record distance of 5,209 miles for gas balloons was set on the only previously manned trans-Pacific flight in 1981, while the duration record of more than 137 hours aloft was set in 1978 by a team crossing the Atlantic. Ray Baer, an official observer with the National Aeronautic Association based in Mission Control in Albuquerque, New Mexico, said, "It goes to the philosophy of man. You always try to attain new heights and distances. That's what this is all about." The balloon, which relies solely on enclosed chambers of helium gas for lift, is different from hot air balloons and so-called Rogier balloons, which rely on both hot air and lighter-than-air gas. The 2 balloon pilots, collectively dubbed 2 Eagles, successfully took off after bad weather and poor wind trajectories had repeatedly delayed their launch. Baer said if they make it to the U.S. West Coast, just south of Oregon, they will have broken the distance record, adding they could also attempt to fly further as the craft is believed capable of staying aloft for 10 days. Coinbase is a simple and secure online Bitcoin wallet for sending, receiving, and storing Bitcoin. Get started at coinbase.fppradio.com. That's coinbase.fppradio.com. UPI reports the Washington Metropolitan Police Department wanted to arrest former Meet the Press host David Gregory for showing an illegal high-capacity ammunition magazine during a December 2012 segment about gun control. The arrest affidavit obtained by conservative watchdog group Judicial Watch shows police found probable cause to arrest Gregory following an interview with the NRA's Wayne LaPierre about banning high-capacity magazines in the United States. However, Gregory was never arrested or charged with a crime. In the affidavit, police detective Wayne Garish said an NBC News editor emailed the police department to inquire about the legality of using a gun magazine with no bullets or weapon during the segment. Authorities told NBC in two separate emails that possessing a high-capacity magazine is a misdemeanor. One of the emails recommended using a photo. During the segment, which aired on December 23, 2012, Gregory showed two gun magazines, one that can hold up to 30 bullets and another that can hold up to 10. In 2013, the Attorney General for Washington, D.C. decided not to bring charges against Gregory. He was later fired from the show and replaced with Chuck Todd. The Legal Insurrection blog filed a Freedom of Information Act request for the affidavit. Judicial Watch filed lawsuit on behalf of the Legal Insurrection in May 2013 to get a copy of the affidavit. This has been FPP Radio News, online at fppradio.com.
It's the Onion Radio News. A family of 5 is found alive in the suburbs. This is Doyle Redland reporting. The Holzapfel family, long feared missing or spiritually dead, was found alive in the Chicago suburb of Buffalo Grove today, somehow managing to survive in the hostile environment for more than 8 years. Rescuers discovered the 5-person clan after a survey plane spotted a signal fire from a barbecue grill. To protect themselves from the elements during their long ordeal, the Holzapfels fashioned a 3-bedroom ranch-style lean-to with brick facing and white aluminum siding. Paramedic Mary Gill was first on the scene.
They were all suffering from severe cultural malnutrition.
The Holzapfels have been returned to civilization for now, though trips to the Art Institute of Chicago and a nice Peruvian restaurant intended to reacquaint them with urban living have been met with confusion and resistance. Doyle Redland for the Onion Radio News, online at theonion.com.
Free Talk Live still to come here tonight. More on the question of does power corrupt? Science says yes. Mark's got the story from Science News, I think
Science Daily.
Science Daily. We'll continue that here in a moment. Our studio number for you to dial in toll-free and bring up anything is 855-450-FREE. That's toll-free, 855-450-3733. With you in the studio, it's Ian.
Ademo.
And Mark.
Ademo is Ademo Freeman, the founder of Copblock.org. And actually, we were talking about Copblock the first hour of the show because breaking news in that world, in Arlington, Texas, there's a couple of the guys with the Copblock affiliate down there who were arrested last night after a long day of cop blocking throughout the city of Arlington. Fairly large place, almost 400,000 people as of 2013. So this is likely a very large police department. I tried to track that down. Sometimes you'll find it on Wikipedia. I wasn't able to find the details on how many cops are in Arlington, Texas. But Kenny is back with us. And Kenny, you were one of the 2 guys that were arrested. You had a black powder pistol on your side. Now, apparently open carrying firearms is illegal, or pistols type firearms is illegal in Texas. I believe you could open carry like a long gun.
Black powder. Free $18.99 black powder replica, or a regular, a real one. So that's what I had, a replica. You can buy them online, mail them to your house.
Wait, you can't open carry like a long rifle in Texas? 'Cause I thought I heard that you could do that.
Yeah, Yes, we can open carry a AR-15,
Gotcha.
AK-47. So.
But pistols, no, you can't carry open carry pistols.
Seems a little backwards.
No, you're not 1911. Leave it at home, or you can get a CHL permit and conceal it, in your back pocket.
But nobody can see it.
So these cops, you guys are watching a situation that what'd you hear it on the scanner, and that's how you figured out to show up, or what clued you into whatever it was?
Yeah, the scanner, and we've been doing it for so long now. We kind of know the hot spots of where everything's at, so we can pretty much go to that around that location and find a stop.
Okay, that makes sense, because that was gonna be one of the questions I had for you. Obviously, this is a big city, and getting around. I mean, here in Keene, New Hampshire, if we want to travel from one side of the city to the other, it's 5 minutes maximum. But if you're in a big city like that, I imagine it's a little bit longer. But if you know where the cops like to hang out and mess with people, then you can also hang out and kind of patrol in those areas.
Yeah,
and
hold signs or be first on scene.
Yeah, like you're saying, you spot the blues, you head over there. That's good to know that you guys have got those patterns figured out. So you were just watching something go down with the police, and then a couple other cops show up and make a beeline for you. That's what Adamo was telling us.
Yeah. The whole problem that they're having is they don't like us open carrying and filming at the same time. It's either or.
Why do you do it?
Why not?
Okay.
Why do they do it? Why do they film us and carry guns around?
Yeah.
But we had one of our other cars of guys. They had gotten to the stop before I got there, and they pretty much had, when we got there, the guy they had pulled over evidently was being arrested or whatnot, and we stopped, and we didn't even get out of our vehicle good. I mean, to the back of my pickup there, and we were just standing there, and the officers, you're watching the video, they had crossed 4 lanes of traffic on that. That's a 4-lane road right there. And they came over there to tell our other guys who were there first, said, hey, you need to go put your guns up. And of course, I think a couple of them did. They had already went and put theirs up. And then they were going to leave, and they seen us standing there, and they come over there saying, hey, you need to put your guns up. Well, Thomas Jefferson said it is not only our duty, but our obligation and our duty to disobey unjust laws. Because the thing is, there is no law saying that I cannot open carry my pre-1899 black powder revolver. And there's no law saying that I can't film. It's just going on feeling. They feel unsafe. Well, you feeling unsafe does not trump my Constitution.
I love this. Now, Kenny, it sounds like you really know your stuff. What I've been told that you have a lawyer. Or you guys are planning on not taking a plea deal on these charges, I imagine.
Oh, I never do. If more people would not take the plea deal and file not guilty instead of just running up there and say, word I sign, guilty. That these court systems would fall to the ground.
Oh, absolutely. In fact, we don't take a plea deal outreach fairly consistently up here, but it's hard. It's hard to get people to not take a plea because it's so tempting to just make it go away.
Right, and it can be a burden. I mean, I assume I know Joseph was arrested before. Do you have any pending charges besides this?
No, not at all.
Because that's one thing I found that's common is, sometimes, like taking the plea deal primarily is situational. So I don't ever try to, I've been on both ends of this actually. And so, some of the times when you
we have committed a crime and somebody was actually hurt, maybe I've walked in this convenience store and robbed it and then hit somebody. That's one thing. But most of our charges that is against me and my guys, they're bogus charges.
Absolutely.
They arrested.
No, I understand that, but if you
and then change the deal.
If you continue to go out and do cop block activities, for the next 2 months, 3 months, 6 months while your case pans out, maybe catch 2 or 3 more charges. Then they start to do what's charge stacking. You have 4 charges, 4 years, and they say, tell you what, we'll just let it all go for 4 years of probation.
Well, this is a good way to deactivate an activist.
An activist, exactly.
Right?
That's the whole idea.
Trump you up on some nonsense charges. Now, the main charge for both of you is interfering with the police, correct? or some variant on that. Have you looked up that statute? What do they have to prove? Because, I mean, it seems like you didn't even interfere with these cops. They came and made a beeline for you.
Yeah, that's what we've been asking. What is interfering? You know, they said it's interfering with our investigation. Well, what are you investigating?
It looked like they were investigating you.
Right. Or, I mean, maybe they're going to try to say...
I could write them a citizen's ticket for interfering with me, right? I mean,
hey, maybe you should write one up and keep it in your pocket in case that happens next time. Like, you can pull that out and say, no.
We actually have that. We actually have that. If you look for Shire Society Peace Ticket, we came up with that a few years ago, where there's actually a list of things that the police tend to do to people, like, you know, threatening, intimidating, stealing, or, you know, extortion, all the different things that the cops will do, waylaying, and you can totally write up a ticket for the cops. That
awesome.
actually exists. We've done the work, so you don't have to create that from scratch. It already exists.
Okay. Maybe one of my buddies is listening. Maybe Brett Sanders, if you're listening, take note of that, and we can get that.
But you know, we would love to have you guys come on up to New Hampshire and check it out up here. I have to say that we could use, you know, people that have the kind of drive that you guys have down there. I mean, you guys are great activists, from what I can tell.
And experience, yeah.
And
drive
experience,
all that's great.
As soon as they put cuffs on me, attorneys were on the phone right then, and I wasn't in there. It took longer for me to get booked in than for me to get out. And I wasn't in there maybe 3 hours at the top.
Do you have an attorney who's willing to actually take the case pro bono or on contingency?
Oh, yeah. Oh yeah.
Wow,
oh, yeah.
good for you.
Yeah, that is stellar.
Absolutely.
That helps a lot with
Joseph
the...
and I are in there. Our guys are out there protesting out in front of the police department, you know, dropping some knowledge to people passing by, sign waving, you know, open carrying. I mean... And when we got out, we went right back to cop watching.
You guys are great.
All right.
I hope you'll keep us in the loop, Kenny, as your case continues to develop. I'm interested in following along and, you know, having our audience know about what's happening. So if you don't mind, keep us clued in. Anything else you want to share tonight about the experience?
Nah, man, it's just I wish more people were involved in this. You know, to know that people do have rights. You know, our founding fathers set that in place. They knew this was going to happen, you know. And we see it every night out here. We see people being raped on the right, you know?
Yep, I'm with you, Kenny, and I share that concern. That's why I moved to New Hampshire as part of the Free State Project, so I could be with other people who cared about freedom, and we're going to create, and we are creating a real mass of freedom-loving people and a real community, I think, here as well. I thank you for the call. Keep us in the loop out there in Arlington, Texas, with what's happening, and I appreciate that. Again, copblock.org. You can check out more and, you know, find out if there's a group near you. More on the way. This is Free Talk Live.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people like passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Hi, this is Mark Edge, host of Free Talk Live. We've been witnessing a meltdown of the very economic engine that powers this country. With a printing press tethered to Washington politicians, bureaucrats, and central bankers, how can we put our trust in paper money? For years, I've been buying gold and silver from Midas Resources, and you should too. Come see gold.freetalklive.com or call 877-357-9938 for a free book titled 10 Reasons to Own Gold. With Washington, D.C. delivering more debt and printed promises, common sense tells us the future of the trend is obvious. Everyone listening should visit gold.freetalklive.com or call 877-357-9938. I trust Midas Resources for my gold, silver, platinum, and you can too. Again, I want you to have this book, and it's free. It's gold.freetalklive.com or 877-357-9938. 877-357-9938.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing. To be able to move to a place where other people like passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project early movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
The three most important things you can do for Free Talk Live are: 1, share one episode a week on Facebook or in some other social networking site. 2, buy the things you buy online through shop.freetalklive.com. 3, give $5 a month to the AMP program. You likely buy all kinds of things online. Amazon is the largest online retailer. You can get what you need at the same prices with free Super Saver shipping by going to shop.freetalklive.com. Please do your online shopping at shop.freetalklive.com. This is Mark of Free Talk Live. We've been witnessing a meltdown of the economic engine that powers our country. With a printing press tethered to Washington bureaucrats and New York central bankers, how can we trust paper money? For years, I've been buying gold and silver from Midas Resources, and you should too. Call 877-357-9938 for a free book titled 10 Reasons to Own Gold, or go to gold.freetalklive.com. Again, 877-357-9938. 877-357-9938.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up what you want. Live Sunday edition. Toll-free numbers 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We can hook you up with precious metals, gold, and silver at great prices.
Yeah, just go to gold.freetalklive.com. We've teamed up with Midas Resources to bring you great gold and silver prices and pieces and coins and whatever it is you might need. As a matter of fact, it's not limited to gold and silver either. If you want more rare metals, you can go to gold.freetalklive.com. There's a telephone number there, right? Like there's the major things that people are going to want at gold.freetalklive.com. Anything
For the
beyond
other
that,
stuff, call them.
Yeah, you're going to have to call them. And the telephone number, I've got it here. I'll give it to you in a minute. But you get the gist. You go to gold.freetalklive.com. You'll get the metals in your hand as opposed to having some kind of ETF fund or something like that. That's not what we're talking about here. This is real metals in your hand. I've done business for many years with Midas Resources. Gold.freetalklive.com. The telephone number, if you wish to do that, is 877-857-9938. 877-857-9938.
Coming up, we've got this story, Mark, that we've been sort of dancing around here for the last hour. The story about power corrupting from Science News. Damn it, what was it? Science what?
Science Daily.
Science Daily.
I think it's Science News too.
We'll get into it here in a moment, but we've got James on the line first. He is in Arizona. James, you're on Free Talk Live via Skype.
Yeah, speaking of power and absolute power of the free will, Free Talk Live nuke button, that is, Ian, corrupts absolutely.
You can push a button on your own board. You have too much power.
M&Ms, you self-proclaimed ministers, Freeman and Edge, have a rotten fruit of the spirit, shameless bad habit of...
what does M&Ms have to do with anything?
Ministers Mark, Edge, and Minister Ian Freeman.
He's calling you guys M&Ms.
Okay. I thought you were attacking M&Ms. Like, they're fine candy. What's your favorite candy, James in Arizona?
Speaking of ad hominem attacks, Minister Freeman, you and your fraudulent minister, co-business and partner in crime, that is Minister Edge, have shameless bad habit of smearing me after I've
Okay.
my calls. But I'd like to take you up, Mark.
Wait. As a real important point here. So an ad hom is
Don't
to
call
say.
me that. My friends call me that. Please don't call me that, Minister.
He didn't call you. He said wait.
Okay. So
whatever.
James.
You knew what I meant then.
Okay, great.
Maybe he did say it.
Fine.
Go on.
So an ad hominem says that you're wrong because you're dumb, but you can call somebody a dummy without them being without it being an ad hom, right? So there's a difference
But
there.
since you asked, Mark, whatever. Asked if you want to have the debate about Mark Edge here, not James DeWitt in Arizona. Islam is bad. Them folks in the Middle East, Islam is bad. You're
from
Southern
to Islam.
It's you, not me. Anyway, you said it on Monday. And
What
you
did
said
he
there's
say on Monday? That he wanted to have a debate?
This is after you dumped my call, and Mark had a lot to say about me being on for about 20 seconds. He had minutes of talk to respond to things that I would never say. So may I have that debate with you, Mark?
Whatever, man.
Whatever, man?
Yeah.
Because you said there's possible positions that somebody can have, neither of which I would ever hold about the United States.
You're breaking up a little bit there. So what is your position? Why don't you just make it real clear for us? Go ahead.
Real clear for us. When I call in to talk about random acts of Islamist terrorism, not Muslims, because I don't call murderers Muslims, just like I wouldn't call a abortion clinic bomber a Christian. They're neither. They're murderers.
Okay.
I don't believe Islam is bad, like Mark Edge, minister.
Oh, great. I'm glad to hear you. I'm glad to hear you say that.
May I continue? Nor would I ever say something so disgusting like that. Nor do Southerners hold that position. But what I'm trying to say is I'm not talking about Davi Barker or Will Phoney for Liberty ever. I don't groupthink like you losers do, like Copblockers, Adamo Freeman does for a misspent life. What I am talking about is Davi Barker and Will Phoney believe Allah is God and Muhammad is his messenger. Then there, like a billion plus people do, then there are millions of people in the Middle East and all over the world where there are no American soldiers, by the way, Mark, that also tack on this third thing of their holy trinity, death to the infidels, and they're deadly serious about it.
Millions of them. You think there are millions?
Out of 1.7 billion, there are millions, and you can argue with me how many millions.
How many of them are in the United States?
I don't think very many, thank God. And not only that,
let me posit a question to you, because I think that somebody who I think that's a reasonable position to come to, is the death to the infidel, especially, or death to the United States. Because here's the reason.
By the way, and you can watch it on the BoobTube or Vice channel or all over the place, Mark, to interrupt, since I posited two positions you hold that I manifestly dismissed, and now you don't want to have to debate it. You don't stand by the.
Why would we
held.
debate? You've corrected. I mean, you've cleared it up. You say you don't hold those positions. What's there to debate?
Should be able to back it up. Notice he's not, because he's not a good debater and he's not a deep
maybe
thinker.
he should just admit he was wrong. I mean,
if I interrupt you and try to rebut things you say, you get all upset.
Here, I put him on hold. Go ahead. He can still hear you.
Okay. Well, I don't exactly know where I'm supposed to jump in on this.
Okay, so he's saying you misrepresented him.
No, I'm not representing. I'm saying that there are two logical positions that one can take. You can't take the position that we're going to occupy the Middle East and hunt down the millions of people that don't like the infidels and kill them, because all you're going to do is create more terrorists. And people are going to be upset that you're controlling their governments and using their governments as puppet states. Therefore, you're going to have more terrorists as a result. That is an like an undefendable position.
Sure, no, I get what you're saying, but what James was saying, and maybe I misinterpreted him, but what he seemed to be saying here tonight was that he was upset that you've misinterpreted, and I have to admit I misinterpreted this from the things that I've heard him say in the past as well. He's saying that he doesn't believe that all Muslims
I don't believe that he believes
are
that.
bad.
No, he's been very clear on that.
Okay.
I'm claiming that his position is untenable.
Okay. James, you're back on.
Back to the two faces of Mark. How suddenly your positions changed, and you're defending me for supposedly not having said something that you said I did say. Again, I want to go back to
James,
this. I never said about we should occupy the
misinterpret things
Middle
I say
East.
constantly.
No, actually, I can back it up constantly. What the things you just said, like last month.
Well, you had your chance tonight, and thanks for the clarification, James. Toll-free number is 855-450-FREE.
That's probably his favorite part of the night when he gets hung up on. We should at least talk about him for at least 3 or 4 minutes.
He's been hung up after 20 seconds, Ian.
After 20 seconds?
Well, that was his claim
was a whole
there.
segment right there.
I know. There he gets almost a whole segment. But
There's no guarantees, right? Like if you're on Free Talk Live, maybe we'll keep you for a whole segment. Maybe we'll keep you for 2 minutes. Maybe it'll be 2 segments. I mean, you never know.
But do you feel that this power of being able to mute people has changed you? And to how long have you been
Sometimes
doing the show?
I mute Mark. Then
so it has
puts our
changed
FCC in
you
jeopardy.
a little bit.
FCC licensed stations. No, actually, it's very rare that I'll mute somebody on Free Talk Live. The only reason I'll do it usually is if there's so much crosstalk going on, if somebody's not respecting another person to where we can hear the one person talk, then somebody's got to get muted.
Right.
And,
so yeah, you got to do that for.
Yeah, and usually the person that is disrespectful is the person on the phone.
I usually just let James go because he gets so upset that he doesn't get long enough, you know?
There's more coming up here. 855-450-FREE. You can bring up anything you want here on Free Talk Live. More on the way on this live Sunday edition.
Hunters, anglers, campers, and survivalists. Get back to nature. Expand your horizons with the highest quality, most versatile, unique slingshots and sling bows on the market at slingbow.com. Slingbow products are compact and models start from just $17.98. They're perfect for your bug-out bag or storing in your vehicle. Give yourself and your loved ones the excitement and tradition of Slingbow. A new frontier in archery and truly modern twist on this primitive survival tool. Feel the thrill only at slingbow.com.
Worried about getting sick and feeling terrible for days or even weeks? You need Immudyne for a healthy immune system. Why get sick and bother with products that just don't work? For just $1 a day, Immudyne is all natural and safe for all lifestyles. Call 866-257-8668 to buy now before it's too late, before you get sick. Or go to IMMUDYNE.com, Immudyne.com, or call 866-257-8668.
Do you know the difference between erudite and pedantic? If you do, you're probably pedantic. But seriously, a surprising number of erudite people mispronounce erudite, which has 3 syllables, not 4. Say erudite, not erudite. Because you are judged by how you speak, you want to avoid common misstatements, especially if you're a job seeker. For instance, do you know the difference between imply and infer? Only a speaker can imply, only a listener can infer. And when you say you'll be out of pocket, do you mean out of touch? Out of pocket means you're on your own dime, not yet reimbursed. And if anyone ever asks, why do you always answer a question with a question? You should reply, do I do that? Just kidding. From survivalspeech.com, I'm Holland Cook.
Radio is the most personal of mediums. I exist right now in your head. If you listen to Free Talk Live regularly, you know me. Free Talk Live is on more than 160 radio stations around the U.S. and has been downloaded on every continent around the world. Hundreds of thousands of listeners with ad packages from $600 a month to $6,000 a month. Imagine what we can do for your business, project, website, or idea. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com. You can get emailed announcements and participate in contests via our email updates list. Plus, we have a Twitter account that you can follow and a Facebook page where you can become a fan. So visit news.freetalklive.com to get news about Free Talk Live as soon as it's announced and the way you want it delivered at news.freetalklive.com. That's news.freetalklive.com.
Free Talk Live.
The amount of young people being brought up on criminal charges, sex offender charges, for taking nude photos of themselves and putting them online. It's just so sad to see these people having their lives just rolled right over the top of by these prosecutors that want to make it look like they're doing something good, but they're not doing anything that's helping anyone. There's no victim in this case. When you hear the term child pornography, what should come to mind, if anything, should be the idea of forcing children into sexual scenes in videotaping or photographing
adults
them.
forcing children, or somebody.
Even if it's a child forcing another child, I think the force is the issue there. If you're talking about a 15-year-old girl voluntarily choosing to take a nude photo of herself to send to her boyfriend or to post online, no one forced her to do that.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM. If you enjoy LRN.FM, please contribute to your favorite shows via their websites and become an amplifier at amp.lrn.fm. That's amp.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You dial toll free if you want and take control of the airwaves. Bring up whatever topic you'd like to discuss. Power corrupting. We'll get into that when we get the chance. Of course, you can call in toll free at 855-450-FREE, or you can connect with us on Skype like James did there in Arizona. You can connect on Skype via username LRN.FM. You send a contact request, and we'll accept it. And then after we accept it, you can call in anytime you want. So again, that's username LRN.FM. If you like Free Talk Live and you appreciate the work we're doing here on this program, talking about the ideas of liberty, 7 nights a week live on over 150 radio stations, 2 satellite channels, actually more than 2 satellite channels, but 2, I think we're actually on technically 3 satellites around the world. And if you want to help us out and get on more people's radio stations, on more satellite connections, on more internet connections, you can do that by becoming a Free Talk Live amplifier for $5 a month. And we'll take that money in and invest it into the show. That money goes to, as I was saying, expanding Free Talk Live. That's why the program is called Advertise, Market, and Promote. We want to promote Free Talk Live to radio stations and other listeners and spread the ideas of freedom. You get perks too, like access to the AMP-only forum, the AMP-only podcast, the AMP-only Facebook group. Go and get the details and get signed up over at amp.freetalklive.com. Makes a big difference for us when you do that. That's amp.freetalklive.com. I believe we have John listening in California. John, I think, are you listening? You're listening in California. Which station are you listening to out there?
What station? I'm not sure what the name of the station is. I'm just camped out here picking up, doing some mining.
Very good. Well, we're glad you're out there.
Best of luck.
Listening to Free Talk Live here tonight. And so welcome to the show. You're listening to KSZL, I think, most likely. So go ahead with your thoughts.
Okay, I'd just like to know what we were thinking when we decided to give the Jewish religion a whole country. I mean, even in the Vatican didn't even get that.
Who's we?
Well, whoever, I guess it's Great Britain, whoever went and fought all the wars to put the Jewish people in this position, you know, and why they're so holy and they have to have this holy land, when this religion, from what I'm gathering, was created in Egypt. And, yeah, I guess some guy named Judah, who was a descendant of Malachi, went and started the religion. You know, I guess he was one of the original tribes of Egypt, or Israel. But
what difference does it make where the religion started? If I mean, I think that the reason for a Jewish state was because their pogroms were going on all over Europe. The fact is that any country that wanted to take the Jews early on could have done that and chose not to. There's this story of the Ship of the Damned, where the United States and several other countries turned away this boatload of people who was trying to escape Nazi Germany, but they kept getting turned away. They ended up going back to Germany, and they were killed to a person. Every single one of them died. And so you can imagine why these people might want their own country, because they felt like they were in danger in every other country.
Well, I can understand that them wanting their own country. I want my own country.
Yeah, me too. I think you should have it.
That's right. But what I'm saying is that who are we? I mean, we believe in the freedom of religion. I mean, to give a religion to a country, to a religion's like saying, you know.
Well, I never gave anyone anything. I just like to clarify. I mean, you keep saying, who are we?
Yeah.
I don't think anyone in the studio, and I doubt you on the phone, John, were involved in giving any land to anyone.
Well, our country was. Our country, I mean, after Vietnam, somehow, I really don't even remember how it happened. Like I say, I know that we ever since.
When did it happen that Israel was formed?
Basically after World War II.
Okay.
But there were certainly Jews living in the area at the time before that.
Why get all upset about it anyway? I mean, it's not like, you really had any say in those decisions that were being made, and what's done is done.
At war most of the time. I mean, we got probably a few thousand Jews, and we're fighting over this land.
Who's fighting over? I'm sorry, you keep saying we're fighting.
People?
I'm not fighting over anyone's land, and I don't care about people's religion. You can have whatever religion you want to. So,
country, as Americans, we are always in odds with these people, and just having this friction over in the Middle East. And
I thought the U.S. government supports the Israeli government, isn't it?
Yeah, but he's saying that the existence of the Jewish state causes friction, and therefore the United States military has to be employed to prevent the friction. But here's what I would counter that with: is the United States military doesn't have to be employed to do anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the politicians choose to send the soldiers over there. They could bring every soldier out of the Middle East on the first thing that smokes and send them home, and that's the decision that power-hungry people in Washington, D.C. make.
Thanks, John, for your call tonight. Toll-free numbers 855-450-FREE. Speaking of power-hungry people, Mark, let's talk more about power corrupting. You barely got through the first sentence or paragraph of this story from ScienceDaily.com.
Yeah, this is from ScienceDaily.com.
Only took me 3 tries.
It's talking about new research published in Leadership Quarterly.
Okay.
Highlights the influence of power on leader corruption. When appointing a new leader, selectors base their choice on several factors and typically look for leaders with desirable characteristics such as
he's handsome,
honesty, and trustworthiness. I think that looks definitely figure in.
When it comes, for sure.
However, and the way you dress is important too. Mm-hmm. When we go to events, many times people will look at me as the talent and you as like the roadie.
Yeah.
You'll be wearing a t-shirt and jeans and I'm wearing a suit. Yeah. So they'll address me as though you're some kind of coolie.
Hey, can your friend there get us some waters or something?
Yeah, things like that. Absolutely. Kids, there's a lesson in this. So anyway, such as honesty and trustworthiness. However, once leaders are in power, can we trust them to exercise it in a pro-social manner? New research published in the Leadership Quarterly looked to discover whether power corrupts leaders. Study author John Antonakis and his colleagues from the University of Lausanne explained, "We looked to examine what Lord Acton said over 100 years ago, that power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. To investigate this, the authors used experimental methods to distinguish between the situational and individual component and determine if power corrupts or if corrupt individuals are drawn to power." Because this is the constant
it's not either
question.
Or, it's both, in my opinion.
I think so, too. I think that I'm certain that there's studies to show both of these things because we've read them. But either way, studies show different things, and I think with this, that we can easily say it's both of them.
Okay.
But that's fine. To investigate this, the authors used experimental methods to distinguish between the situational and individual component and determine if power... Oh, I think I reread that.
You did.
Yeah, I'm sorry. After completing psychometric tests to measure various individual differences, including honesty, participants played the dictator game, where they were given complete control over deciding payouts to themselves and other followers. The leaders had the choice of making pro-social or anti-social decisions, the latter of which resulted in reducing total payouts to the group but increasing the leader's own earnings. Findings show that those who measured as less honest exhibited more corrupt behavior, which of course makes sense.
Not a surprise.
Hand in hand.
At least initially. However, over time, even those who initially scored high on honesty were not shielded from the corruptive effects of power.
Okay.
We think that strong government... They're going on to talk about how to fix this. It's ridiculous. You know what we need strong governance mechanisms run by people who could be corrupted.
We need to create bigger power. More power over here. Not diversified power, just centralized
These
power.
braying jackasses have just shown that people with power become corrupt over time, so they're proposing more power centers.
I want to hear what they're actually proposing.
Okay, man. But I think that's what they've found, and I think it's important to look at what they found, which is that just because corrupt people are drawn to power is besides the point, even when honest people are drawn to it.
Does it talk further about why over time it, like initially they were more pro-social in their decisions and then over time became less so? I wonder why that is. There's more coming up. 8:55, 450 free. We'll come back with more. You can share your thoughts. It's Free Talk Live.
Lose the winter blues and warm up with hot flooring deals from Lumber Liquidators. Thinking about hardwood? Consider bamboo. We've got the #1 brand, and we'll help you get it for less. Like Strand Bamboo. It's twice as hard as oak, and for a limited time, it's only $1.99. Why pay as much as $4.99 for bamboo at other stores? We've got deals on over 70 styles from an incredible $179. Plus, pre-finished hardwood, laminate, and more for less than half what you'll pay somewhere else. And 18-month special financing. Now is the time to warm up your home with new floors. So visit lumberliquidators.com to find a store near you.
DVD, books, music, instruments, periodicals, computers, software, electronics, photo, cell phones, office products, home and garden, bed and bath, furniture, kitchen, pet supplies, automotive, hardware, apparel, shoes, jewelry, grocery, healthcare, sports and outdoors, toys, games, used, and more. It's a department store at your fingertips. Shop.freetalklive.com. Get all your shopping done, get a great deal, and a portion of your purchase goes to benefit Free Talk Live when you enter Amazon via shop.freetalklive.com.
This alert just came in. This special announcement is for business owners and leaders of organizations who've been waiting for the right time to build. General Steel has made it impossible to wait any longer with rock-bottom prices that could save you thousands. That's right, General Steel, America's leader in pre-engineered structures, is offering buildings at prices you will never see again. Don't miss these prices. A 50 by 100 for $35,000. You heard right, that's 5,000 square feet for $35,000. Manufacturers, if you need a larger building, try a 100 by 100 commercial building for $129,000. You can't afford to rent with these prices. Imagine a 70 by 100-foot church building for under $69,000. With the economy improving and interest rates still at historic lows, you can't afford to wait. So call 866-91-STEEL. Lock in your price now. Call 866-91-STEEL. That's 866-917-8335.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
Who told you you can go this way? You can do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa, Hey, who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait on account. Now. Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable!
Why are you running from me?
Because you're scared me.
Property,
What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
Here's a chance to do a little activism while you're cruising Facebook, Twitter, or Google+. Between the LOL cats, the recipes, the hot girls, and the inspirational sunrise memes, Free Talk Live's posts pass by your newsfeed. Like them, comment. It gives us more exposure. If you don't see our posts, click like at facebook.freetalklive.com and then hover over it to click Get Notifications. It's an easy way to spread the ideas of liberty a bit further. I know you're busy, but you can spare that 1/10 of a calorie it takes to click on something. facebook.freetalklive.com. If there was a place that liberty-minded people had been elected to political positions and were rolling back government, would you move there? If freedom lovers had secured a 20% voting block and can veto most bad bills, would you move? Well, the time has come to sign the pledge at freestateproject.org. These things have happened in New Hampshire, and you can join us and help. freestateproject.org. Sign up now at freestateproject.org.
You can watch the LRN Studio Cam and chat with other listeners anytime at cam.lrn.fm. That's cam.lrn.fm.
This is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We're talking about power corrupting. Yet another study has been done here. This one cited by ScienceDaily.com. And I was looking around during the break there to try to see if we could actually pull up this study, because the news article or the article by Science Daily, it seems like it was cut and pasted from somewhere, because when I searched for this story, I found that same text on other sites.
Mm-hmm.
So it sounds like it might be a summary as written by maybe the people who made the
that's their
study.
press release.
And so I found the actual scientific study. It is behind a paywall. And maybe there's another one out there. Obviously, I've only had that one break to look for it. But ScienceDirect.com has this study, and it's $20. So I can't easily access it. But they do have a little bit more information in the abstract that they show here. Apparently, Mark, in this study about power and looking at, they gave two groups of so-called leaders in a group of study participants. They gave the ability to decide payouts to themselves and their followers.
Yeah.
And they could do certain things that would result in everybody who are the followers getting more, or the leader getting more than the followers, that kind of thing. And they studied, well, how did people decide? What did they choose to do in these instances? And some of the conclusions they came to were that, yeah, there were definitely people who were attracted to power who were corrupt right from the start. But they also indicate here that honesty predicted an initial level of leader antisocial decisions. However, honesty did not shield leaders from the corruptive effect of power. So that over time, even the better leaders became corrupted. And that's what I wanted to learn more about. When I heard you read about that, I thought, well, what does that mean? Like, how long did it take them? How honest were they up front, and then later on, why did they change how they started to behave in these studies? I think that sounds like it would be very, very interesting to read. Something else that they apparently studied was testosterone levels. I don't know if your article mentioned that at all.
No, not anything about testosterone levels.
This abstract here, which is very short, says
testosterone the dishonesty drug?
Well, it says...
Because I can tell you there's plenty of women out there that would agree with that statement.
It says here, we examined how power and individual differences like personality or hormones affected leader corruption over time. Power interacted with endogenous, meaning within the human body, I think, testosterone in predicting corruption. So power interacted with endogenous testosterone in predicting corruption, which was highest when leader power and baseline testosterone were both high. So the more power and the more testosterone the individual had, the more likely they were to be corrupt.
I see.
Interesting.
Yeah.
So now it's the testosterone that's the problem.
Well, it's not to suggest that women are not susceptible to corruption. That's just what they studied. I don't know if they also studied estrogen or something like that, but in this case, that's all they mentioned in the abstract, at least.
There's plenty of folks out there, many of them calling themselves feminists, that would say that the world would be better, or a nation would be better off.
They would say that.
If it was just run by women, or largely run by women. And we don't really know what that world would look like, right? Like, at this point, there are few enough women that choose to participate, because women choose not to run for office, more often than they choose to, but the ones that choose to participate are so far outnumbered that they're essentially operating in a man's world. They have to play the man's game. If one is willing to talk in this way, basically these gals have to, Hillary Clinton. She's tough as nails, right? So what would it be like if instead men had to play the women's game in politics? And I don't know. I mean, we can only just figure it out from here.
Wasn't Cleopatra a little ruthless? Didn't she have people killed?
It's true, but I still think we're talking about a man's game, even if you're talking about a woman who's in charge. You can't claim that Margaret Thatcher didn't have to play a man's game to get where she was, if you're going by this philosophy. I tend to say that this is true, But, we don't know what it would be like otherwise. I can tell you, having lived in a house where two women are at times, oftentimes that doesn't go well at all. So maybe the government could be worse. I don't know.
So read the crazy conclusion. You didn't want to read it in the last segment, but I think Adamo's intimation, or what he intimated from what you said, was spot on. Can you read that? This is after going over the idea that power corrupts and that, even good people can be corrupted by the power.
So this is the author of the study, John Antonakis. He says, we think that strong governance mechanisms and strong institutions are the key to keeping leaders in check. Organizations should limit how much leaders can drink from the seductive chalice of power. But I mean, what is an organization? He uses
people. They're
uses,
people.
Right. He uses some code terms here, like governance, institutions, and organizations, as though any of these things are anything but people, who he has just shown are corrupted by the power,
and he wants
that
them
he's
to
proposing.
Be strong organizations and strong governance,
which will centralize the power into a worse form of power.
Right.
More evil.
I am appreciative of John Antonakis and his team of researchers and the study that they have done. I think his conclusions are bat-ass crazy.
They leave a lot to be desired.
Yeah. So, and I mean, this is all you can get out of. You know what we need? We need an organization to watch the police. And when that organization becomes corrupt, as they tend to, then we need another organization that'll watch that organization.
To watch the other organization.
I mean,
watches
just,
the watchers.
It just doesn't stop. It's because they become corrupt.
Well, people don't have a better idea. I mean, and of course, the better idea, I can't speak for all of us, but I think we might agree on this. The better idea is to decentralize power, to, not have these organizations having a lot of power over others, to remove a lot of the things that they have that they use. So I agree with his general statement that they shouldn't have a bunch of power, but to create more power within an institution to somehow try to prevent humans from having power just doesn't make sense. It just... one does
only
not
two
follow
logical
the other.
conclusions: that one organization reaches an epic amount of power until it crumbles upon itself, or other organizations or institutions are made to check that power, which then there's too much power spread across the board, and they'd fight each other until someone gets more power.
Oh, I think the best solution is to simply allow people to opt out, basically secede from the governments that exist. And at that point, they get none of the services either. They're going to have to create their own governing organizations. I don't think you should try to make it impossible for them to, say, go to the grocery store or something like that. But if they decide to opt out their piece of property, then no public water for you, no whatever power grid or whatever it is that the governments provide in that area. And I think that they should try to divest themselves of the non-essential stuff. But basically, let people opt out. I know I could run if you would let me drive out of my driveway and get on the state road and then pay you for the time that I spend on the state road. I'm willing to pay you for your roads.
Yep.
If
I like having roads cleared.
If I could opt out of
snow and ice, that's nice.
Opt out of the rest, I can handle my power production. I can handle all of these things.
So you can share your thoughts with us. How do you decrease the power that people have? Because there's some level of disagreement between some people in the libertarian or voluntarist movement. Some people refuse to participate in the political system, and I think, Adamo, you're one of those folks.
Well, as far as like running for office and stuff like that, sure, but I mean, I've been in the political system, so I primarily stay out of that.
Like, you won't even vote typically, right?
Yeah, I wouldn't. I mean, I guess the most I would do or have gotten to is like some sign waving or something for politicians, but not in many years.
So you kind of get stuck in this place where you don't want to reach for the power yourself. I don't blame you for that. I don't find much interest in that for myself either, but I do run for political office for the purpose of spreading the message of freedom first and foremost. But as we've seen here in New Hampshire, liberty-minded people are getting elected. And that means that they do have the chance to affect this political system, because the odds are good that next week, next month, next year, the police are not going to just have an epiphany and decide
walk off and go home.
And decide to stop, at the very least decide, well, all right, guys, we've had enough with this victimless crime nonsense. From here on out, we're only going to arrest murderers and rapists.
But I also feel in the next week or 5 years, the politicians aren't going to order them to stop it either.
Probably not, because politics is a very
slow grinding,
moving,
bad process.
But at the same time, we did see New Hampshire pass medical marijuana a couple of years ago. Of course, the dispensaries aren't open yet, and here we are in 2015.
Yeah, they're dragging their feet.
It's getting closer, I would say. There's problems.
They must have put
right?
stoners in charge of starting this, so since it's so late.
and they're corrupt.
And then you've got, states like Colorado and Washington. I mean, they are moving in the right direction, although you can argue that legalization is not an optimal state. It's certainly better than putting people in a jail cell for possessing the plant. But those cops they weren't any help in that process, like after the fact. Now, I think the governor of Colorado actually has come out and has admitted that he was wrong. Like, he's come out, I think, and has made a public statement like, I would have vetoed this if I could, but obviously it was a referendum. And now he's saying, wow, yeah, I was wrong about this. So in hindsight, these guys might realize that they were on the wrong side of history.
When will the rest of them learn it? Because I can tell you, Florida, nowhere near this crap.
We're out of time for tonight, but we'll be back tomorrow. You can join us online in the meantime, freetalklive.com. Join a demo at copblock.org, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Who did you let down today? Your wife? Your kids? Well, how about yourself? Take a look in the mirror. If you're tired of your drug and alcohol problem, you need to fix the problem, and right now, before you hurt or kill yourself, or worse yet, somebody else. Call the addiction specialist now at the Detox and Treatment Helpline, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. If you have private insurance, we specialize in finding you the right treatment. When you call right now, you'll speak to a recovering addict who understands what you're going through right now. Let us help you break your addiction to drug and alcohol before it's too late. This call is completely confidential and free. So if you have private insurance, take 5 minutes of your time. Call right now. I promise it'll change your life. 800-208-5187. 800-208-5187. 800-208-5187. Call right now. 800-208-5187.
This Your Family Today tip is brought to you by Juicy Juice, 100% juice, providing a full serving of fruit in every 4 ounces. Visit us at juicyjuice.com. When it comes to nutrition, kids need both fruits and vegetables every day to stay healthy and grow. For the ideal mix, your kid should have at least 1.5 cups of any veggie or 100% veggie juice, and 1 cup of any fruit or 100% fruit juice a day. For more tips like these, visit us at parenthood.com/yourfamilytoday.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
The live edition of Liberty Conspiracy is next, after the news, here on the Liberty Radio Network, LRN.FM.
From Keene in the Shire, the Liberty Media capital of the world, this is Daryl W. Perry, host of FPP Radio News for Sunday, January 25th, 2015. Silver is trading at $18.37 per ounce. Gold is valued at $1,295 per ounce. And according to BitcoinAverage.com, the average price of Bitcoin is $248. Antiwar.com reports at least 30 people were killed and 97 others wounded on Saturday when missiles hit a residential district in the eastern Ukrainian port city of Mariupol, adding to the rising death toll after the ceasefire collapsed last week. Eastern Ukrainian rebels confirmed they are in the process of launching an offensive against government-held Mariupol with an eye towards expelling the military from the Donetsk Oblast. However, they deny firing any rockets. The Ukrainian military, ever looking to escalate things internationally, claimed the attack was a crime against humanity committed by the Russian military. As usual, they offered no evidence for this assessment. Such a situation is all too common on both sides of the ongoing East Ukrainian war, as massive civilian casualties in the war are regularly denied by each side, even when usually only one or the other would have plausibly been attacking the area. For over 35 years, Robertson Roberts has been a trusted source for buying and selling your investment-grade precious metals. They also take Bitcoin